ill, we're the ward, we're going to kill the kid. And now it's old ladies. California father says he can't even schedule, and this is true, you can look this up. And in New Jersey and California, on the birth certificate documents, they have dozens of different queer this, double-spirited that, now it's old. The parents now choose, oh, this isn't a boy, it's really a double-spirited, or it's really bisexual. I mean, this is sick beyond, and I got another article I didn't even get to. I'll cover it tomorrow. Maybe I'll shoot a special report. Brave New World, IVF company, eugenics tool, lets couples pick best baby, discard the rest. They scoop hundreds of eggs out, artificially inseminate, get dozens of embryos. Then the family, the mother and dad, look at the babies and decide which one they want and the rest they're going to kill. This is so dangerous, folks. You're not shopping for furniture here. You're playing God. And that's what this really all is about. Here's that clip I mentioned. We'll turn the baton over to Kelsey. Here it is.
Cannot explain how ridiculous the state of California is. My 12-year-old son, he needs to schedule an appointment himself to go see a doctor or a specialist. Because when you're 12 in this state, apparently you can make your own medical decisions. We don't have access to his account with scripts. He has to go in there and do everything. This state is absolutely insane. I should have known when I was working as a janitor in 2017 and I saw Time magazine in every single classroom with a man on the cover that was pregnant. It was a woman with a beard. And you were showing that around, Time magazine, to all the kids from first grade through sixth grade. So my state sucks. It's gone loony. But also the weather's great. The weather is great.
Kelsey Sharon is on fire. Kelsey Sharon on X. Kelsey Burns on X. Substack Kelsey Sharon. And then on X, Kelsey Burns. Kelsey, wow. We knew it was already going on, but now it's out in the open. You've got the floor for the next 48 minutes, then the war room today coming up. Thank you so much. This is so scary. This is really the death cult. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me back, guys. I do really appreciate it. It seems like after we were on the show in December, we woke a lot of people up, and thank God that we did, because now Americans are realizing that this is no longer just a Canada problem. We're slipping into your states. But I do want to start off with Keanu, because that is a case right now that is going viral, and so it should be. This was a young man. This was an individual who in no way, shape, or form should have been euthanized, but he is definitely our canary in the coal mine. So let's get right into this one. MAID has always been, for those who do not understand it, medical assistance in dying. It has always been for the terminally ill only. This started in 2016 during the Carter versus Canada case when it was challenged. And what that did was open up the door to your doctor being able to kill you if you had a terminally ill only case. That switched in 2021 when they allowed for track 2. That was the non-terminal, the individuals who had irremediable or grievous conditions that could be, this wasn't necessarily a huge terminal cancer you're going to die from, but track 2 was saying that you had something so severe that you couldn't live with it any longer, but it wasn't actually going to cause the end of your life. Now, the reason that's important to point out, Alex, is because most people right now are qualifying through track 2 because it is very easy to get access to, regardless of what the pro-death cults want to say. Now, we know even the corrupt United Nations has stepped in and said that Canada should be repealing and rolling back track 2 because track 2 is so dangerous for the disabled, for the vulnerable, and for anybody who cannot get access to care. The reason that's important to note is because Keanu was not an individual that was terminal. Keanu was a 26-year-old young man, non-terminal, who was losing his eyesight due to diabetes and suffered from depression. And there's something really important to note about Keanu that most people are not aware of. There was a lot of concussions and head injuries in this young man's life. At the age of, I believe it was 16, he has his first car accident, which then left him untreated with a concussion. Following year, he had a snowboard accident with another concussion. And repeatedly after that, he was jumped and hit his head again. The reason reason that's important to note is because a lot of Keanu's symptoms all come from head injury, whether that's depression or the diabetes that he was already suffering with, which was something he could survive. Also has issues with head injury, meaning instability and blood sugar. He lived in public housing. He was living on his own. He was not terminal. And he was even turned down by doctors in Ontario at Maid House, originally approved by them until his mother, Margaret, made so much noise and exposed this doctor for killing her, were trying to kill her son. And then they said, okay, sorry, Keanu, you no longer qualify. The reason that this is important is because this young man had suicidal ideation going in and out of the hospital several times and saying that he wanted to end his life. I just did a press conference this morning with his mother where she was talking about Dr. Tepper. That was the original doctor who qualified him and had the actual conversation with him about death. Now, this was not a conversation about trying to prevent death. This was one where he was educating him on ways to find an assessor so that it would actually help him get through the system. Now, once his mother became aware of this, he never got access to mental health support, post-concussion syndrome, or any of the other things that he should have been given, especially in a country who's supposed to have the best socialized health care. He was actually left alone to manage all of these symptoms with his family. Now, in 2025, so in December 30th, last year, the most prolific killer in the country, you guys have heard me talk about her in December, Dr. Ellen Wiebe at a Willow Clinic in Vancouver, who is known for taking out individuals who are on the edge of what the legality standard is. She has been stopped before by several individuals, including myself and others, in getting court injunctions because she has qualified people to die over one Zoom session with never looking at Keanu's medical records, with never discussing his prior history. But she took him for his word. Keanu was functioning enough that he could have his own dogs. He could list methodically everything that he was doing. He was training. He had travel plans, but none of that disqualified him from death. And the reason this matters is because MAID assessors explicitly state that they do not challenge the subject of suffering. Whether that's the fluctuation of hope is treated is completely irrelevant. And depression is constantly laundered through physical diagnoses. He was not dying. He was struggling to survive in a system that had absolutely no room for him, and it just agreed that he should disappear. Now, he flew from another province. This is important to note because America is doing this with non-residents in their own way of killing with track 1 patients and your 12 states in one jurisdiction who are euthanizing individuals. Here's the difference. He was able and healthy enough to fly from a different province all the way to the west coast of the country and go through and sit with an executor for his will. And he stated very clearly he wanted the world to know his story. He wanted the world to know who he was, and he wanted people to understand. Now, the reason that tells me he was not in his right mind is because he was continually going in and out of the ER asking for MAID. And that is a problem because that is saying that suicidality was present and somehow they still allowed him to make these decisions. Now, he is not the only case that has come forward of what we consider a non-compliant death. And doctors and MAID assessors and the pro-death community will argue that he was a compliant death because they were able to fill out the paperwork properly. But just because somebody knows how to work the system, Alex, does not mean that they are a compliant death. And this young man right here should have been alive today. But because of Ellen Wiebe and her willingness to play with just outside the law and still has her license after admitting in my presence in Salt Spring Island that she has killed over 1,000 people alone, and self-admittedly in the National Post in 2024, I believe it was 400 people. Now, we should be paying attention to this, and Americans should really take note of this, because with your 12 states and one jurisdiction that are euthanizing, you now have a 13th on the board that's coming forward, and that is New York. So when you are looking at this, the reason this is important is because track 1 deaths are the foreseeable deaths. That is the ones Americans are now doing to their individuals, and they are changing terminology so that they will qualify. And a great example of that is a young girl in Colorado who suffered from anorexia. She was not terminal. She was not dying. She was suffering from a mental health disorder that could have very easily been cured properly if given proper treatment. But because she was young enough and doctors were coercive enough, she got a very sick doctor to come up with a new term that she coined, terminal anorexia. And she was able to be qualified in Colorado under this. And one of the reasons you should pay attention is because doctors are making things up nowadays in order to get them qualified. And this is here what happened with Dr. Ellen Wiebe and with the Keanu case. And ironically, and this is important to point out too, Alex, a lot of the most prolific maid killers in the country have a tendency to sit in a couple different provinces that are more liberalized. British Columbia, the Fraser healthcare system was a huge problem with Dr. Sean Young. He's a nurse practitioner who killed my friend's mom, as well as Dr. Grace Park, who is in Fraser Healthcare, and Dr. Ellen Wiebe, who is in Fraser Healthcare as well. And in Ontario at Maid House with Dr. Tepper, who originally qualified the young man Keanu. At the time, he was much younger and still at 26 has had his life taken because he was able to game the system and doctor shopped his way around. The reason Americans need to care about the doctor shopping is because it is no different in our states as it is in yours. And the reason that's important is if there's no residency requirement, you can doctor shop your way to find someone who will say yes to your death versus saying, no, you don't qualify. Let's look at your long-term care. Now, again, Keanu is not the only one that we're concerned about right now. There are several other individuals that have, with the new May Death Review Committee. I've been just interviewed on the Kelsey Sharon Perspective yesterday. I just had Dr. Ramona Coelho on. She's a family physician, and she's also a member of the Death Review Committee. And there are several cases to go through here today with you guys where individuals should not have qualified to die. And Keanu is just the tip of the iceberg, Alex. So, so let's go through some of these guys because I think it's really important for you to understand that this is not an isolated incident, not even at all. This is just a mother who was willing to genuinely stand and come forward and say there is something much deeper. So, right off the bat, we've got a good case here to talk about. A housebound, severely obese woman with comorbidities, just like you heard during COVID. Comorbidities cause people to die, including depression and what do we got here? She was left without care for years. She requested MAID, and when she was offered, she refused therapy. She had a documented case where she was not able to reverse her conditions, and MAID assessors actually determined that she met the criteria for track 1. Now, again, this is why it's important for Americans to pay attention to, because this woman was not terminally ill. This woman was not dying in any way. This woman was just severely unhealthy. She had comorbidities and she was severely obese. And yet the Canadian government qualified her as an individual to have track 1. Now, track 1 on itself is also important because that is what the United States and that is what the UK are looking at pushing through. And that's important for several reasons because track 1 patients are the only patients that can have the same day MAID procedure. Now, let's talk about that for a second. The same day MAID procedure is huge because that means they're not given time to get adequate support for mental health, adequate housing change, adequate support financially. And this means that they are literally ending the lives on day 1 and 2 of an individual requesting something like assisted suicide instead of giving them proper care. Now, when we're looking at these cases I'm going to go through, we have 9 different cases that are really important to highlight. Case 1 is the one of the severely obese woman. She qualified under track 1. And I'm going to show you, and I know people hate when I do this, but a lot of the argument that comes up here is that it is very difficult to access MAID. Now, if I were a patient and I went in under track 2, you would have a waiting period. And that is where the assessors come in and decide if you qualify or not. The other reason this is important is because you can break that safeguard by saying these words. I am no longer eating. or drinking. And immediately you jump to track 1, which then qualifies you to die within a 24 to 48 hour period. That's important because MAID has become such a problem in the country, and it is also in America, that there is more than enough nurse practitioners and assessors to be able to show up and qualify you in that time frame. So before a family has time to intervene, before loved ones have time to intervene, before individuals and a system can come in and actually support this individual and even ask them further questions. How is your sleep? How is your eating? How is your movement? How is your community? Is there anything we can do to ease your suffering? They go, you know what? Forget all of those options. Let's kill you anyway. And in Canada, it is clear to state it is different than the way they kill Americans. Americans are killed with a cup filled with liquid poison that the doctor sets in front of you and says, go ahead and drink it. In Canada, they remove the responsibility from you by putting 2 IVs in your arms and flooding your body with poison and a paralytic that causes your body to completely freeze, and then your lungs go into a pulmonary edemic state, and then your lungs fill with fluid and you drown to death. The other thing to note is that with the MAID procedure, it does not always go right. The BMJ has come out in the past few days talking about the safeguard failures and talking about the failures of how the MAID kits work and death in general. We even have a case of an individual, I can't say the names obviously, where a doctor came to the home and mated the patient in front of the family, because this is the whole new thing, is you used to go visit grandma. Now you go visit grandma and everyone watches the doctor kill grandma. But what they did is the doctor left saying that the patient was deceased. And when the family members and loved ones went to hug this individual, he started gasping for air. And the entire family had to witness this, with the doctor coming back in to the home and killing him a second time. So we have a ton of issues here, a lot of non-compliant deaths, and whether the pro-death community wants to call them compliant deaths or not, just because it's a self-reporting system and they are all in lockstep with the verbiage to make sure that nobody goes to prison, it does not mean it's a compliant death. And when we're going to come back, I want to go through some of these other cases too, because I think this is not only going to show Americans how bad Canada is and how bad socialized healthcare actually is, but it's also going to wake you up to the idea of how easy it is to get access to your doctor euthanizing you rather than actually providing you care. Now, with the case that we're talking about with Keanu at the beginning of this, it's important to note that because he was not dying and because he was living with depression and diabetes, which several individuals in the country and across the globe have learned to live with, it's important to note that he did not necessarily require palliative care or hospice. But a lot of these patients who are track 1 with a terminal illness, i.e. a terminal cancer, Alzheimer's, or dementia, are being turned down actual palliative care and hospice and are only being offered MAID instead. So that not only tells you that our government no longer cares whether you have a good exit to your life, it is actually more feasible for them to be providing you with MAID. Not only does it make them money for the assessors, does it not only make the drug companies, because we use an excessive amount of drugs, which is found on the NIH website. If you type in NIH and you go under MAID Kit Canada, you can see CanMap, which I consider the killers of the country, who advise the NIH on the type of drugs used. The other thing that's important to note is every single drug that is used in my country to murder people by their doctors has never been FDA approved for killing, nor are any of the drugs in America that are killing your American citizens been FDA approved for killing. That's important to note because everybody had something to say during COVID about the FDA, but we're allowing people to be murdered with poisons that we don't fully understand how they work, and we don't fully understand how they kill, which means we don't fully understand if the patient is in actual suffering. But the way that Canada gets around it in the sick, sadistic manner that they do is to paralyze you anyway. And even lethal injection patients have a similar procedure in America that we now do to the most vulnerable in Canada. And when we come back, I do want to discuss what's next, which is the mental illness expansion in March of 2027 and Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto, discussing how we should be having conversations about adding mature minors to the actual table.
Our medical grade USP ultramethylene blue, exclusively at thealexshowstore.com, has taken the country by storm. You've seen the rave reviews. All of our guests that have taken it have been blown away. Zen, clarity, focus like a fog has lifted. It's not a stimulant, but it feels like one with no letdown. But the best part is it's so good for your cells, so good for your mitochondria. It's incredible. Now we have it in sealed capsules with organic vitamin C to supercharge it as well. Get a 1 month supply so you can travel with it. Talk to your physicians before you take it because it's very, very powerful. It can interact with some drugs. But after you've done your research, get your ultramethylene blue either in liquid or now in capsules exclusively at thealexshowstore.com and at Funds Operations. And if you subscribe, you can lock in 50% off right now on all future orders and cancel anytime. Take action now at thealexshowstore.com. Become a subscriber and lock in 50% off on top of the already incredible savings. Thealexshowstore.com is the destination of health, liberty, and freedom. Well, barring a miracle, InfoWars, the website, the studio, will be shut down somewhere in or around January 1st, 2026. But regardless, the InfoWar lives on. But InfoWarsStore.com, the legendary site that literally funded the InfoWar because of your great support for so many great products, has gotten 2 final shipments in of Body's Ultimate Turmeric Formula and Ultimate Fish Oil. Both are the highest quality, the best out there. They're fan favorites. And right now, they're 40% off until they sell out. So this is probably, I said about 90% chance, your last chance to get Body's Ultimate Turmeric Formula and Ultimate Fish Oil at InfoWarsStore.com. But don't worry, the InfoWar will continue with the Alex Jones Network. It will continue with all the other work we're doing. But right now, if you want to get these legendary products, the last time you can, get them exclusively at InfoWarsStore.com. Again, they're both 40% off for a limited time, so take action now. InfoWarsStore.com. Introducing Ultra DNA Revival, the advanced daily supplement designed to help you feel and perform at your absolute best, starting at the cellular level. Backed by cutting-edge mitochondrial and DNA support science, Ultra DNA Revival delivers noticeable all-day energy without stimulants or crashes, faster recovery and greater endurance, sharper focus and mental clarity, support for healthy blood sugar levels, stronger immune system function, enhanced liver health and natural detoxification, reduces everyday stress and anxiety, protection against oxidative stress and the visible signs of aging. And again, this is a private label of an already best-selling brand that found this. Thousands of customers report feeling the difference in as little as 7 to 14 days. Right now, take advantage of our best pricing ever. VIP members, $34.95. Regular, $59.59. Save over 40% with a VIP membership for $30 a month. Experience the revival your body has been waiting for. Secure your DNA revival today at thealexshowstore.com.
RFK Jr. shocked many when he sat down for a meal with Fox's Sean Hannity. The pair dined at fast food chain Steak and Shake, eating burgers and fries in a bid to highlight the chain's switch to frying their food in beef tallow, which is a healthier alternative to traditionally used seed oils.
I am so excited. After over a year, we have the highest quality private labeled beef tallow out there. You've heard RFK Jr. rave about it, the health effects, how good it is. This sucker is boom heavy. This is high quality. It is very competitively priced, and it funds this whole operation. It is optimal human beef tallow, grass-fed from thealexshowstore.com. It is night and day compared to all these other fats and all these trans fats and all of the seed oils that are so toxic, especially when you heat them. Not this. It is so good. It is now available, discounted at thealexshowstore.com.
Leading a frontal assault on the lies of the New World Order, it's Alex Jones. Discover trends and global developments years before they happen, right here on The Alex Jones Show.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. My name's Kelsey Sharon, and today we're going to be talking more about murder. and MAID and all of the awesome things that seem to be happening up in Canada. But why this is important to those that are listening in America is for several reasons. Well, because it's happening to you, and now you are aware. So once I made you aware, you can't turn away. So let's get right back into this. If you guys were listening to the first part of the episode today, you heard me discuss a lovely individual named Keanu, who is a 26-year-old young man who had his life taken by Dr. Ellen Wiebe. And to be frank with you, in no way, shape, or form should he have qualified to die. So let's just start with America a little bit here, because I think it's important to talk about why Americans should be paying attention to the Canadian that's having the conversation about MAID. Right now, currently in America, you have 12 states and 1 jurisdiction that are killing your own population. And they are doing it to what we call Track 1 patients. The reason that's important to note is because Track 1 is normally reserved for the terminally ill. It is normally reserved for the individuals who are going through active suffering, who are about to die within weeks. Now, I'm going to list those countries for you because I want everyone to be aware when you're sending your loved one or your elderly or somebody who is struggling with dementia and Alzheimer's to a doctor. I really want you guys to start paying attention, because the pro-death community has slipped into the healthcare system in America and in Canada, as well as the UK and the rest of the globe. So currently, I suggest if you have an elderly person, go to your family's appointments if they are in Hawaii, California, which is an obvious, Colorado, Delaware, Illinois, Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, Oregon, Vermont, Washington, D.C., Washington State, and now New York is looking like we are expanding as well into that, which is a terrifying fact, because it's what happens when you have a lot of mental illness. You have a lot of people who start to dangle the carrot of suicidality. This is what you're seeing. So just before we went to break, I broke down a couple of the cases that are important to note, because the conversation has recently come up and gone viral with Keanu's story, but there is also another individual who has recently been brought up in the media. There was a couple different outlets that wrote about her. I'm just pulling them up here. And these outlets were discussing the fact that, well, this person didn't qualify to die, but yet we still had individuals that were being killed. This case is a case named Mrs. B. This Mrs. B individual was an individual who was suffering with dementia. And the Ontario Coroner report is the report that's put out by every province of every death that happens through MAID. Now, there are individuals on the MAID death community, the death committee, who go through these reports to check for compliance. Now, part of the problem with that is, well, the dead don't talk and the dead don't complain. So there's not really a whole lot to do once that individual is killed. But the reason this one's important is because Quebec has started doing what's called advanced requests. Now, this is if an individual is still fairly healthy, but they believe they're going to develop something like dementia or Alzheimer's. The reason that's important to note is that's still not allowed in every other province, but Quebec seems to go after it with no problem. Now, there was an individual named Mrs. B who was also wanting to have MAID and then changed her mind. Now, Mrs. B is important to note because this woman applied for MAID and said after a few different conversations based on her religious choices and where she was at in her life, actually she would like to withdraw the case for MAID. Now, that is important to note for several reasons, because it does feel and seem like lately that even if you apply for MAID and change your mind, there's a good chance that they're still going to force this forward. Now, this wasn't because the woman just wanted it, and this is important to note. The husband of this Mrs. B was in her 80s. She had complications from a coronary bypass, and despite her physical decline, she was perfectly medically stable, and she was assessed in the hospital. According to the Ontario MAID Death Review Committee report in 2024, it states that the short timeline did not allow all aspects of Mrs. B's social and end-of-life circumstances and care to be explored properly. She asked and requested inpatient hospice care. The reason that's important is because in hospice, that's how they control pain management. That's how they support with palliative sedation. And that's how they actually start to help you end your life in a safe, comfortable manner instead of murdering you with a doctor. Now, she has stated, I wanted palliative care. I do not want to use MAID anymore. But the husband had been pushing because he was struggling with caregiver burnout. Now, this is a recognized risk factor when it comes to family caregiving, and that request was denied. And the official notes record Mrs. B reportedly expressed her desire to withdraw her request for MAID, and instead she wanted inpatient hospice care. Her husband took her to the hospital the next morning, and her palliative care doctor applied for inpatient hospice care, and due to her husband's burnout, was quickly denied. Within hours of that denial, a new MAID assessment, meaning other individuals, nurse practitioners or doctors, came forward, and they said that she was now eligible, even though she said she did not want this. So just like I stated before we went to break, Dr. Ramona Coelho, the family physician and MDRC member, has warned the public several times now that the systemic gaps in care, burnout, and lack of resources that are listed in the McDonald-Laurier Institute 2025 report state and show that the MAID system now sees inadequate access to care, poverty, loneliness, and lack of treatment options as a completely okay way and risk factor when it comes to choosing death. Her analysis around this was social suffering is not the same as medical suffering. This means that they refuse to actually give her what she's paid into her whole life, which is hospice, which is dignity in death. And they said, no, instead, we're going to kill you. Now, this patient was non-terminal, and the complications where pain and suffering could have been managed properly with palliative care or hospice were not provided, and not only within days or hours, not weeks, the social factors were not involved. This means that the majority of the assisted suicide deaths are no longer tied to this imminent physical death of terminal cancer, but lack of adequate support by the Canadian government. Now, I know a lot will say this is in Canada, this isn't happening here, but like I said before, we have several cases in America right now where individuals are having the option to die because doctors are making decisions for them, because they know how to game the system. What else is important to note, like I stated before, was the young woman who was killed by her doctor who made up some term that is not a medical term in the DSM, which was terminal anorexia. So the part of the problem we are seeing here is even with Mrs. B cases specifically, she withdrew her consent for MAID, and she explicitly requested care, but then she was denied that care, and she was euthanized the exact same day. So when the MAID death cults state that there are safeguards and there are tons of ways for you to get around it, we have learned very quickly that it's pretty easy to get access to death, but not access to any sort of care. So when we look further into Mrs. B specifically, members of the MDRC, which is the MAID Death Review Committee, have stated and brought forward concerns of possible external coercion. This is important to note because coercion can happen. Coercion is not something that is a shock anymore. And the one thing that we do fully understand is that when we were looking specifically at the Scottish Parliament, in a broader way, we understood that domestic abuse was a potential issue here. And when people are being coerced and left alone in rooms of individuals they no longer want to see alive, you can be coerced and be told you are a burden. This is what has been happening to the elderly when people like Dying with Dignity in Canada and Compassion and Choices in America are going around and telling people, we don't want you to be a burden. We don't want you to be a problem for your family. And now we are creating an entire society, a very sick society, that teaches people that if you become a burden, you should end your life. Now, Mrs. B was not the result of an uncontrollable medical crisis. It was the outcomes of a series of decisions that were made inside of a system that would not provide care when it mattered the most. She is not the only one. She is just one of the biggest ones that we have seen. whether it's Keanu, whether it's Mrs. B, but we have several different individuals, and I'd like to go through some of those cases as well, because we have several different individuals now that we are consciously aware that have been utilizing the program and utilizing MAID. I hate calling it a program. It's your doctor murdering you, guys. Let's just be honest. This is Alex Jones' show. I can say it what it is. Your doctors are murdering you, and they're using compassion to make it sound like it's something beautiful. I do want to state that Dr. Joel Zivit from Emory State University has done the largest postmortem autopsy findings on lethal injection patients from America, and has found that the drugs that are utilized in the MAID procedure that are listed on the NIH website under Canadian MAID kit are actually drugs that have never been FDA approved for killing. They have never been a part of where we're allowed to put them into human beings. We don't test the brain, the pain centers in the brain. We do not check individuals when it comes to this. We paralyze them first. Your lungs go into a pulmonary edemic state. They explode and you drown in your own fluids. That is how graphic it is, because that is the reality of what these drugs do. This is not just Dr. Joel Zivit's work either. There are other anesthesiologists who have come to me and written affidavits and statements. There are doctors within the system that are not okay with killing their patients, and thank God they are coming forward to talk about exactly what's happening, because we are also, before we go through these cases, it's important to note, yes, organs are being taken. This was a story broken by the United States State Department. I spoke with them last year in a quiet conversation and warned them about the organ issue we were going to be experiencing. We now, at this point in Canada, used to not be allowed. Let me make that clear. You were not allowed to mention organ donation to a MAID patient until after they had been qualified. And that has flipped it on its head completely, where now they are suggesting organ donation and then MAID, and they are taking your body parts. So a lot of people ask me, why is that important? Well, it's important for several reasons, because there is a method of coercion going on here. If you are mated in a hospital, they can still use your organs. They can use everything but your heart and your lungs. If you were mated at home, obviously, they cannot use your organs. That's a little bit of a different conversation. So let's go into these cases, because this is really important to note. Like I stated before the break, the majority of the cases we're going to discuss now are track 1, which means America, this is where you guys are eligible. In our second case in the BMJ report was a man with cerebral palsy, and he was living in a long-term care, voluntarily stopped eating and drinking. And if you guys were not here at the beginning of the first episode, I made it very clear how easy it is to move from track 2 with a waiting period of a non-terminal illness death to track 1, where a terminal illness would normally be the only thing to qualify you, and you could be killed within a 24-hour to 48-hour period. And again, I know they hate when I state it, but it's important to note it's as easy as saying what this man did here with cerebral palsy, that I am no longer eating or drinking. Now, he was leading, because of this, into renal failure and dehydration. And then he was deemed eligible under track 1 because his death was considered reasonably foreseeable. And for those of you who have seen the Kelsey Sharon Perspective, you've heard me say this before, we're all going to die. We're all reasonably foreseeable deaths, guys. From the second you're born to a second you come out of your mother, you are palliative, because that is how it works. So this is what's scary, is when you have a society that says at any point that you're frail, at any point that you can no longer pay taxes, at any point that you now cost the healthcare system and the government money, we might as well get rid of you and use your organs for money, because that's where we're at. So the cerebral palsy case specifically deemed under track 1, even though there was no psychiatric expertise, was consulted despite evidence of psychosis distress. So that tells you that they are no longer paying attention to whether you're mentally stable. They're no longer paying attention to whether you have the capacity to make the decisions. They're just stating, as long as you fall under this very tight criteria of a reasonably foreseeable death, then you should be able to qualify to be murdered by your doctor. Now, again, that's a track 1 case. Case number 3, we had another man in his 70s with an essential tremor. I know plenty of individuals with tremors. They use cannabis to manage. But this MAID provider documented that the request for this case specifically, this man in his 70s was driven by emotional suffering because he was grieving the loss of his wife. So he was not terminal, he was not dying, but yet they qualified him under track 1 to be killed within 24 hours to 48 hours. They did not question whether he needed care. They did not question whether his community support was there or his family was there to help him. And the reason this is so important is because if a doctor or a psychologist does not say these words to you, how is your sleep? How is your movement? How is your diet? How is your community? Are you leaving your home? Or are you feeling stuck inside? And they offer you drugs or MAID. They're a drug dealer or a serial killer. That's Ellen Weeb's vibe. Let's move on to the next case, guy, because we have this called under the BMJ recent report that came out yesterday. It's called Undue Influence to Die. So case number 4 was Mrs. B, we just discussed. So she pulled her report of wanting MAID because of religious and personal issues. The next very day, MAID was still offered, even though she said she didn't want it. Case number 5, this is also important to note. Alzheimer's. This is Quebec's way of doing the early admissions or application for MAID, because once you are not able to make the cognitive choices, then you should not be able to qualify to die. So this man with Alzheimer's was documented with delirium. He received MAID during an acute illness while facing long-term placement after losing his caregiver. He was in such distress that his caregiver was going to be replaced, and this is what happened. And the analysis when breaking this down focuses both on what have been adequate palliative care. Again, MAID should not be treated as an option for least resistance. Palliative care should be a high quality, accessible situation, especially in necessity things like this gentleman here. But instead, the high rates of elderly and financial abuse in Canada, coupled with patients' dependency on their caregivers, is furthering to highlight the potential risks of coercion or undue influence in MAID decisions. Now, it's important to note something, that it is not just smaller nonprofits that are death cults like Dying with Dignity. Please pay attention to the term CANMAP. CANMAP is an organization that funnels all of the doctors through their protocols and programs and teaches them how to work with the MAID protocol. Now, CANMAP does a conference once a year. This year it's in Montreal towards the end of April, beginning of May, where all of the murderers of the country come together and discuss how they're going to continue to move this forward so that they can kill more people. Now, it's important to note that not every MAID practitioner continues to kill people. Some are one and done, and they've realized how horrific it is. And then you have the ones that are more serial killer style, like Ellen Weeb, or just to be clear, to say their names again, because Alex said this to me last time, say their names, so you got it, buddy. I will happily say their names. Dr. Sean, not even a doctor. Let me just try that again. Nurse practitioner Sean Young in the Fraser Health community out where I live, ironically, and Dr. Grace Park in Fraser Health killed and approved Donna Duncan, which is a friend of mine's mother who had a traumatic brain injury from a concussion car crash, who deteriorated very rapidly, attempted to kill herself, and then was mated only a few days later. And yes, she was compliant legally. But I guess my question to Fraser Healthcare and those listening is, why is it that some people's cases and autopsies can't be given to us if they were so compliant? Just a question, just tossing it out there. Also, for reference, Dr. Ellen Weeb loves to kill people. She's at Willowbrook in Vancouver and is still murdering people to this day. She is the one who killed the young boy Keanu at the beginning of the story. It's important to note that it's her favorite thing in the whole world to do. Not my words, just the one she said on the Better Off Dead documentary, as she smiled with her horrific face. Now, she's still killing people. There is currently, if those would like to also help in getting her license removed, Keanu, you guys can find the links I will put the link to his mother's page on Instagram. She has started a petition to get this doctor's license looked at. And the reason it's important is because it takes one doctor's head to roll before other doctors start to question whether they should be killing people. Now, another point to note is that this is not isolated. This doesn't just happen in one province. Canada loves to kill people so much it has killing facilities on both sides of the coast. So it's important to note that in Ontario, in Toronto, there's a place called Maid House where you roll your loved one in and they never walk out again. They are a nonprofit funded by the government and private donors. Dying with Dignity is also one of those other nonprofits who, if you go on their website or onto my Substack recently, you can break down all of the people involved and the donors, including Telus and Bell, who were a part of the prolific Bell Let's Talk mental health support. Ironic, isn't it? So when we look at this, if you live on the West, don't worry. You can go to Maid House in Victoria and they'll kill you there. And if you go to St. Paul's, the people who state that they don't do maid or kill anybody, or the most recent story about the mother trying to sue, saying it was not okay, her daughter wasn't maided there and had to be moved. You're right, they don't maid you in the hospital. They have a green shed in the middle of the courtyard where they wheel you through the hospital to the green shed called Shoreline, where they'll murder you there. So, I mean, it sounds crazy, but who am I? Just a podcaster, guys. So let's go through case 7 before we get to the end of this, because there are so many cases now that we are looking at that are clinical and system barriers, capacity concerns, undue influence to die, and just lax interpretations of the legislation. And this is why I was so clear to say when I went on Jillian Michaels, once you open the door to killing, you do not get to decide what walks through. And Canada is the canary in the coal mine that the rest of the globe is not paying attention to. I do encourage RFK, Elon Musk, and anybody who pays attention to your people in your country to wake up, because your people are being murdered at a pace right now that is terrifying. You're just not listening. So hopefully this wakes you up. When we look at other individuals in Canada, we actually have more people who are trying to kill their own loved ones. And one of these cases was on the island here off of Victoria, where an individual wanted his wife dead so much, he said that if she did not qualify for maid, he was going to kill her and then kill himself. That happened in Nanaimo. That was another case. And it is wild to me because the BC court even stepped in and said that the BC man with a death plan for his wife with Alzheimer's can no longer make her decisions. Now, guys, can you imagine suffering so much and trusting your loved one to keep you alive, only to find out that he planned to kill you if the hospital said no and then kill himself? But don't worry, though, right? Because he already did the autopsies and he had all that dialed in for them. He did the obituaries. He already did all of the selling of the assets. So it's okay, because apparently Canada has now stated it's no problem. Now, let's pay attention quickly before we go. March of 2027, they are going to start mating people in Canada with mental illness alone. That is so important to note. That is looking at your disabled, your vulnerable, your veterans. These are real people. So if America thinks this is not coming to a state near you, I promise it is. Like I said before, Hawaii, California, Colorado, Delaware, Illinois, Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, Oregon, Vermont, Washington State, Washington, D.C., and New York are coming your way. It always starts as terminal illness, and then it moves on to the next one. And now you have sick kids that is getting ready to expand into the conversation at CanMap around mature minors. That just means no age, my friends. That means that you only have the capacity as a child to make the decision to die. So thank you guys so much for listening and allowing me to replace Alex Jones. In the next hour, you have an episode at the War Room. Not sure what's going on there, but I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. And if you're looking to learn any more about my work, what I do, and the maid coverage, it's the Kelsey Sharon Perspective on all platforms. On Substack, my ex is Kelsey Burns, and I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thank you so much.
Now look here, even to this very day, I still have my trusty old trench knife from the war.
at thealexjonesstore.com.
Hello, friends. Welcome to my home. We have all kinds of supplements. Sometimes we have BOGO Sups. We're always coming out with new products, and this is one of my favorites. You can shop for all of our supplements and apparel right here on the phone app.
I have some very exciting news. Optimal Human is hands down the best green superfood, super nutrient concentrate I've ever had. The folks at Bigley have had this out for years, and it's their star product. And it became a bestseller very quickly because people, when they got it, loved it so much. If I told you everything that's in it and how concentrated it is, it would take an hour. This has the kitchen sink and then some in it. If you're missing any of the trace, not just the stuff they say is essential, but all the other trace elements and vitamins and prebiotic and probiotics, it's got everything in it. And again, these are all concentrated, and it's got a bunch of stuff for healthy energy in it too. So folks absolutely love Optimal Human, and it works synergistically with the Shilajit, the Irish sea moss, the ultimate turmeric, and the methylene blue. We've been sold out of this. It came in, and I finally got it a couple days ago, and man, is it awesome. It is a game changer. If you haven't gotten it, you are really missing out at thealexjonesstore.com. And so it never sells out. Be sure to become a subscriber and get special discounts when you do that.
Leading a frontal assault on the lies of the New World Order, it's Alex Jones.
InfoWars. Tomorrow's news today.
Well, when I saw the video last night from different angles of this Andy Karzismak, he looks like a big, fat, disgusting, insane leftist. And I'm not saying he's a pedophile. I'm saying if I was going to cast somebody as a pedophile that drives around in an ice cream truck kidnapping kids, it'd be him. Kind of like Brian Stelter. I'm not saying he's a pedophile. I would just cast him as that. But when you go look him up, he's got dual trans kids, both of his children, and he's a huge leftist. But instantly we're told he's a Republican right-winger with no evidence. We still don't know the details of crooks that shot Trump a couple years ago in Pennsylvania. That all got covered up real good. We don't know anything about Tim Walz's appointee that went and killed the representatives that voted against the Somali fraud, though he got a letter out saying he did it for Walz. But boy, we sure know right away that this guy with a syringe, it was the syringe plunger, not the part with the needle. He had the syringe without the needle. And that's a classic leftist situation. I've had them try to hit me with that many times. And once they missed and hit Owen right beside me. We were in downtown Austin. And the stink was unbelievable. They have bags of feces and urine, and they let it rot for months. And then they have it in water balloons, or they have it in a syringe like that. And let me tell you, it is horrible. So that's a leftist thing. Like a Muslim thing is throwing acid on women's faces that go outside without burqas. You always see the female reporters trying to interview the Muslims overseas. They'll just throw a rock right in their face or here's some acid. Here, enjoy that. So, I mean, this is a leftist attack. I mean, look at him. He is an ultra-leftist blob. His kids have got the Toro nose ring that Satan hooks his chain up to and drags them along their leash. I mean, this guy is a flaming ultra-liberal. Hands off Minnesota. Up there with his kids. Oh, yeah. Not a false flag at all. And watch, he'll get charged. They'll run the headlines, and in about 3 months, mark this day, they'll drop the charges. And then, or he'll be put on probation for a year, and then suddenly he'll get an even bigger job, I'm sure. The cash will flow of the tens upon tens upon tens. You know, Trump's saying they're getting new numbers in. It's way over 24 billion, as I said. I first did the math on that weeks ago. He said it's probably triple that. So something that stunk really bad.
Here there.
And the thing they create looks just like that. They put a human feces in a bag with a bunch of urine, and then they let it rot, and it creates a little special thing they love. Everything about him. He is a hardcore Democrat, hardcore leftist, and so they're telling you he's a Trump supporter with no evidence. Trump came out and said, when asked if he'd seen the video of Representative Omar being attacked and sprayed by a substance, no, I don't think about her. I think she's a fraud. I really don't think about that. She probably had herself sprayed, knowing her, the president said. Remember when he first got elected 9 years ago, there were all those Jewish cemeteries getting attacked in New Jersey, New York, and Trump said, I hear from local law enforcement there's leftist Jews staging it to blame me. Oh, you're anti-Semitic. A week later, it was all true. They busted the people doing it. We'll be right back. I'm Alex Jones. We have massive news straight ahead. Dale Bigtree in studio. Just such huge news. Stay with us back in 60 seconds.
Bovine Colostrum Plus, a really incredible new product that's flying off the shelves. What if one simple scoop a day could strengthen your body's natural defenses at every single stage of life? This is Bovine Colostrum Plus, nature's very first superfood, now in its purest, most potent form. For teens and kids, Colostrum Plus delivers 4,000 milligrams of immune-boosting IgG antibodies and 20 grams of premium protein to power growth, crush colds before they start, and keep young athletes recovering faster and staying in the game. In your 20s and 30s, it rebuilds your gut barrier, sharpens focus, and helps you bounce back from tough workouts and late nights like you're still 21. Hitting 40, 50, and beyond? Well, Bovine Colostrum Plus fights back against age-related immune decline, supports healthy inflammation levels, and keeps your joints, skin, and energy feeling years younger. One scoop, 500 milligrams of soothing marshmallow root for your gut, 500 milligrams of lactoferrin, nature's ultimate defender, and zero junk. Get it today at thealexjonesstore.com.
Receiving this transmission, you are the Resistance. Live from the Infowars.com studios, it's Alex Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Wednesday, January 28th, 2026. I'm your host, Alex Jones, as we enter the 373rd day of the Trump administration. Well, I could fill the next 4 hours with Democrat leaders, Democrat politicians openly saying, DAs, you name it, we are going to hunt down and hang all the ICE agents. They are Hitler. We're going to come to all MAGA supporters' houses and drag you out of your homes. We are going to kill Trump. We're going to kill Stephen Miller. ICE is completely illegal. Everything they do is illegal. We're going to hunt you down. And they talk about in the future tense. But the order is attack, attack, attack now. You're guilty, you're Nazis, you're mass murderers, you're criminals. We finally got 2 dead people after training our political suicide bombers to, go in and get themselves killed, ramming you with cars and everything else.
You got my attention.
Imagine if they stage a false flag and mow down a whole bunch of people and blame ICE or Trump or a Trump supporter. I mean, imagine the furor there. This is the Podesta plan. This is the Civil War plan. We've peacefully gotten our guy in. We're dismantling globalism. We're RFK Jr.'s in there just swinging for the fences, just devastating Big Pharma's corruption. They're panicking. Del Bigtree's in studio in about 23 minutes from now with big news. One of the big advisors, obviously, and former head of the campaign for Kennedy. And yeah, we do have opposition inside the DOJ to much of what Kennedy's doing. So there's a civil war there too as well. Key intel coming up there. But I could fill the whole show. We played a clip of a nurse yesterday saying, yeah, I'm going to give people chemicals and shots when they come into the hospital that'll paralyze them or kill them. And then all of a sudden people make compilations of dozens and dozens of other nurses, where they work, who they are, saying we're going to kill not just ICE, but any conservatives that come in the hospital. Now, they've moved on from spitting in your food to, just brainwashing your kids, trying to take them away from you and sterilize them. They're still doing that. To just, we're going to kill you. And to show how brazen they are, they say where they work and who they are, and we're going to kill you. Or die trying. It's just unbelievable. But I'm going to get to a lot of it here. Then you got a lot of geopolitical stuff happening. I am very happy with Trump trying to shut down the Ukraine war. That's getting close. I understand what he's doing with Maduro, still a big gamble. But he's cutting off the deep state's money and China. But Trump isn't controlled by Israel. But that lobby, when it comes to Middle Eastern policy, does have major sway and is trying to control it. And later in the next hour, I would be critical of Trump and walk through the facts. He said, surgical strike, just take out the nuclear site. Site's the most beautiful ever done. Perfect. And I said, Netanyahu has openly said he wants regime change. They just tried to overthrow Iran the last 3 weeks. It didn't work. And I don't want to be drug into this. I'm not a fan of the mullahs. I know they're unpopular. Whatever. You're going to force them into blocking the Strait of Hormuz. If you attack them, they've already voted in their government to do it. And this is Israel, the tail wagging the dog. And Trump, I've got a massive armada. It'll be a much bigger attack than last time. So here we are 6 months later, wildly unpopular with your base. And he did always promise not to let them have a nuclear weapon, but you said it stopped them. And it was the greatest attack ever. And genius, our bombers, no one else can do it. So I'll get to that next hour, but it's bad. And of course there'll be headlines. Jones turns on Trump. MAGA's over. No, 95% of it's very good, and we're getting great things done. I'm going to back where we're having success. And then when I see stuff that I certainly don't support, I don't think you do, and it's un-American, and that Trump's doing something wrong, we are going to get on his ass. And you notice I said over the weekend, don't call it a retreat, call it a recalibration, a reset. Pull back into have them stay at a military base, which they did. I even mentioned some of the bases they could use, and then they picked one that I talked about. And I said, and just say it's a reset for recalibrating because they're escalating violence. I understand you got to deport these people. I understand it's the law, but right now you don't have enough forces on the ground to control the situation, and that's giving into the lawlessness. You can't send just a few agents here, a few agents there to these neighborhoods to be surrounded with the signal chats and huge hordes of people to be attacked. That's going to push them into a corner, ramming them with cars, wrestling around with guns. People are going to get killed. You can't send people on suicide missions. And you notice that exactly what I told you is they are taking the head of the Border Patrol and sending him back to California. He's about to retire, did a great job. But what I was told last week was he was very optimistic that they could do the mission. They didn't need more people, and that it was all, in hand. And that Homan had said, well, I think you need more people, but okay, I'll defer to you, the field commander. And that Trump had heard all this. And then you notice I laid all this out already, and exactly word for word, but I've said, Trump has now said openly, it's not a retreat. We're recalibrating. And we're going to focus back on mainly targeting people with huge criminal rap sheets, which was what Homan wanted to do, and not just grabbing anybody that's illegal. And if they run into them, they'll get them. But they've got to augment the forces and have bigger numbers of groups when they go out so that they can't get surrounded and set up. And so I told the White House that. I said it on air. That's what they really pay attention to. The White House, they listen. And word for word, my policy ideas are now in place. And so that's a good thing. That's not a retreat. That's just not handing the enemy the big wins they want, because they've got a hornet's nest of wound up leftists attacking all over the country. And not letting them set up ICE is not a retreat. It's being smart. And I've also told the White House, and I've told you till your ears bleed, we are now entered the prime zone. It's like when in Top Gun in the old days when it says missile locked, Sidewinder, missile locked, or Darth Vader says, I have you now. His lasers lock on Luke. They're locked, folks, for the false flag. It's all lined up. This is the zone. It's imminent false flags. Imminent false flags. Out of a parking garage or something, or out of a panel truck, mowing down a bunch of demonstrators, blaming it on ICE or a Trump supporter. And so a lot of folks have wanted the Insurrection Act, and I've said either go hard, go in all the way, or back off, because there's no lukewarm ride the fence here. And definitely the White House and others are listening. And it's not like I'm the only one telling them this, but they know I got a good track record of being very accurate. That makes them listen to the other people that are telling them word for word what I'm saying, not because they have to get it from me. We're just simpatico, finishing each other's sentences. So we got a lot of stuff going on here. And look, it shows how badly coordinated the Democrats are. I'll get to this later in more detail. That Ilhan Omar had to have a hardcore leftist Democrat activist that on his pages post resist ICE, back the Democrats, back Islam. Both his kids are trans. And then we're told he's a Trump supporter with no evidence, going with a syringe and spraying some type of stinky liquid on them. That's what the left does with syringes or water balloons. I've been almost hit by them. I've had it hit me, not directly. It hit Owen instead. Oh, my God. It was horrible to smell. There's video of it. They ride by on a bike and spray you. They'll throw a balloon at you. They rot feces in a plastic bag with urine, and they load up their little bombs with it. It's a little Antifa goodie. And so, of course, now, let's just be-roll the Ilhan Omar thing. Now, of course, just instantly, he's a Trump supporter, no evidence. And then you look him up, and here's the trans kids. Here's both his kids trans. Here's a Hands Off Minnesota, him posting on his social media that he's a big leftist. I mean, just absolute fact. And, of course, he's a fat, demonic slob on top of it. And did he do a false flag on his own to make her look like a victim? Or has he been paid to do it? Like the man that went and killed the two reps, the senator, the rep, shot their families on June 14th of last year during the No Kings, getting a letter out from the FBI confirmed saying, no, I work for Tim Walz. I was supposed to kill these Democrats and blame Republicans. Was that a false flag? Was that a false flag? Well, we know he's not who they say he is. There's no evidence he's a Trump supporter. So that's par for the course. But let's get to the big news throughout the broadcast. First big thing I want to drill into right now. This is so massive. So Philly's Soros DA, you already saw the sheriff there, say, I see ICE, you're all illegal, I'm arresting you. You want some smoke, come get it, a few weeks ago. Philly Soros DA Krasner calls ICE agents wannabe Nazis, threatens to hunt them down. He says, the way we hunted down Nazis. Now, if you listen to the psychology, it's the same thing being put out of all of them. First, a few months ago, question illegal orders. What are the illegal orders? Well, we can't tell you when it comes to facts. Now, ICE is all illegal. They're all Nazis. They're killers. They're not even police officers. All those lies. And then they say, when we get back in power, we're going to hunt you down and we're going to put you in prison. And then other Democrats say, we're going to kill you and your families. I mean, I've got dozens of clips a day where they say, we're actually going to kill your families, your children, too. So they are inciting all of this. These are Nazis. We're going to hunt you down. We're coming for you. And then you got Rick Wilson of the Lincoln Pedo Project. I'm sorry, it's called the Lincoln Project. Fake Republicans. Calls for execution of Stephen Miller. I want Stephen Miller to be number one in the Nuremberg trials. when it's done, I want Stephen Miller to be the first one that is tried and convicted and effing dangles. And then we got other Democrats saying, yeah, we need to overthrow Trump. We need to kill him. We need to kidnap him and his family. I mean, it just goes on and on. Meanwhile, man shot after opening fire on Border Patrol agent CBP Chopper. They have video. Now the illegals, the human traffickers on the border are so emboldened. They didn't do this very often. Now it's happening every week. They just start firing at a Marine helicopter that Trump has down there with Border Patrol on it. And so they shoot the guy and he's in critical condition. And, of course, the left's all spitting, oh, my God, more Nazis. Yeah, you attacked the country with 40 million illegals and all this crime and everything. And then you think with the limited forces America has that they're not going to fire back. DHS investigating woman who tried to buy guns to kill ICE agents. She told the gun shop, I want this to go kill them. And then I've got all these new compilations of other nurses saying, we're going to kill you when you're ICE. And then they go, you know what? We're going to kill your family. And now some women were walking out of a hotel, young women, and they just posed with photos with ICE. I mean, even if you don't like ICE, I can tell you, I mean, I've been in like Guatemala and, Germany or whatever, and there's the paramilitary police with police dogs, machine guns, and I'm like, hey, can I take a photo? They're like, sure, and it's, cool photo. Doesn't mean I endorse everything they ever did or whatever. These women come out and go, oh, can we have a photo with you? A mob of old white people screaming, calling them whores, chase them to their car, they're crying, saying, we're going to dox you, we're coming to your house. I mean, this is Maoist struggle session, folks, and they teach that at the colleges. Maoism is the operating system the globalists have funded to the left. It's come out in Congress and on Fox News that the big billionaire that's under investigation for funding this, one of the Soros guys, has run to China. He's an admitted Marxist-Leninist Maoist. So when you look at this, you go, this looks like a Maoist struggle session. That's because that's what it is. It's where mobs of people chase you down, and then once they're done, they come up and say, are you for what we just did? If you're not enthusiastic enough, they break your nose or kill you. It's like Don Lemon's out there, and the left runs up and says, you're a white supremacist, screw you. And Lemon goes, no, I hate white people. And he goes, good. And it's a white guy saying it. It's a weird struggle session thing they do with each other. It's all about radicalization. It's all about foaming at the mouth. So play the Soros DA, Larry Krasner, then go right into Rick Wilson, and then go into Senator Alyssa Slotkin, because notice, she's like, oh my God, they've created a secret list of people they're going to put in death camps. They're coming to kill us. ICE just has a database of people that ram them or chase them around or follow them so they can check and see if they have warrants. They're screaming, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you, F you, F you. And they put them in a database, and it's Democrats run by the state Democrat Party funded that have a database on them using the police license plate reading systems that these blue cities won't let the feds have access to, the feds paid for them, like Denver and Minneapolis. They don't even get the police state tools. The left has those. You see how that works? But then she's like, oh my God, they've got a database. No, they're like, you better watch out when you're chasing us and attacking us. We know who you are. We've run your license plate. Oh my God. While they're running theirs illegally, following them all around and coming to their hotels and beating up the staff. Go to the clips.
This is a small bunch of wannabe Nazis. That's what they are. In a country of 350 million, we outnumber them. If we have to hunt you down the way they hunted down Nazis for decades, we will find your identities. We will find you. We will achieve justice. And
when Stephen Miller goes out and calls a guy who was, by every account so far, who never had a legal problem, had a concealed carry permit, had a gun permit in Minnesota. He was a nurse. He was nice to his neighbors. And you know what? Stephen Miller went out and called him a domestic terrorist, claiming he was planning to assassinate those ICE agents. I almost tweeted this today, and I know I'll get canceled for saying this. I know I'm going to get in trouble. I want Stephen Miller to be the number one in the Nuremberg trials when this is done. When this is done, I want Stephen Miller to be the first one who is tried and convicted and fucking angles. Okay? I want him to be brought before a court of law because he is the sole executive that runs all this DHS ICE stuff, the ICE Stapo.
What happens to the people on the secret list? The next logical step is that the president would use the full power of the federal government to target those American citizens. In theory, people on this list could be wiretapped, their homes could be searched, or they could be arrested just for disagreeing with President Trump's agenda. I never thought I'd have to lay this out about my own government. This is the kind of stuff that is fundamentally un-American and strikes at the heart of who we are as a people.
Out of Minnesotans, that in the face of despair and anger and chaos, that they have pulled together. I personally have been with community where I was the person locking and unlocking doors at a supermercado in order to make sure that ICE wasn't entering the facilities. I've delivered groceries to people who were afraid to open their door, knowing that it was the mayor of St. Paul that was delivering their groceries to them, that they were still afraid.
Tell you, sick is an understatement for this woman. This woman is a nurse at Virginia Commonwealth University, we are being told. She's been put on leave after this. Take a listen.
I thought of something good. I think it's stuck in the weird spot. Sabotage tactic, or at least scare tactic. All the medical providers, grab some syringes with needles on the end. Have them full of saline or succinylcholine, whatever. That will probably be a deterrent. Be safe.
I don't know how to pronounce it, succinylcholine, something like that. That second agent that she was talking about paralyzes the muscles, incapacitates you for 6 minutes or so. That's what she wants to do to ICE agents. To me, actually, though, it gets worse. She does not stop there.
Get the poison ivy oak water, and I'm going to put it into a water gun. Aim for faces, hands.
Now, I don't know how much poison ivy is living in Minneapolis, Minnesota right now in the dead of winter, but she wants people to gather up poison oak and poison ivy, mix it with water, and then put that solution in a water gun and spray it on the faces of ICE agents. Now, it's not going to kill you, but my Lord, it'll make you awful uncomfortable. Much of this stuff, to me, encouraging this behavior should be illegal. I believe that it is. I have to believe she's being investigated after putting this out. As I mentioned, she has been put on leave. She also says that all her single lady friends, you wonder why she's single if this woman is, take to the dating apps.
Get on Tinder, get on Hinge, find these guys. They're around. They're a nice agent. Bring some X-Lax and put it in their drinks. Get them sick. Nobody's going to die. Just enough to incapacitate them and get them off the street for the next day.
Now, if you listen to what she said earlier, she said a chemical that can kill you, that she's going to inject you with, but that's not the point. The point is these are the level of cowards we're dealing with throughout the system. And now, since that came out yesterday, I have dozens of clips in a compilation of other nurses saying who they are. They're that arrogant. Saying, we're going to kill people. And we're going to deny you care. If you're having a heart attack and I'm your nurse, I'm not going to tell them you're having a heart attack when you're in the hospital bed. I mean, these are freaks, and they're getting more and more radicalized by the minute. And they're so pissed that RFK Jr. is actually getting the fluoride out and the poison shots and all the rest of that. And Dale Bigtree's with us for just 30 minutes. He was on the War Room. The War Room host was hosting American Journal this morning. He'll be in here with us, and then I'll get back into all of this and so much more. And Trump planning to strike Iran, which I'm totally against, which I told you would turn into this and be an endless thing and suck us into a full war. A lot of you got mad at me that were pro, take out the sites. No, this is just a surgical thing. It'll all be over, and 10D chess and all the rest of it. So I just call balls and strikes. I'm just outraged by this. That's coming up. Today's the last day to get our new amazing product, a clean, healthy, super powerful energy shot that I am extremely excited about. And when you get a case of the new nootropic energy shot, Mind Fuel is the name of it, Mind Fuel, at thealexjonestore.com, you get a free bottle of our amazing super immune boosting formula with all the known best super nutrients to boost your immune system during the winter. Atomic Defense. So tonight at midnight is the last day to already get the new energy shot, Mind Fuel, already discounted, and get a free bottle of Atomic Defense. But I'm telling you, if you get anything, if you haven't ever tried the products, as an 84% reorder rate, nobody has that. Ultra Methylene Blue is the best methylene blue out there. You ever heard RFK Jr. talk about how much he loves methylene blue? It is incredible, so good for your body. It's an amazing stimulant, but it's not a stimulant. No letdown. Get your Ultra Methylene Blue now at thealexjonesstore.com. Also, the widest selection of Patriot apparel. What an adventure to wear it. The ball caps, the t-shirts, the hoodies, the sweaters, and more. Thanks for your support. We'll be back with a true champion of liberty, a warrior. Dale Bigtree straight ahead. Now, this new product is incredible. It's from our sponsor, Bigley, at thealexjonesstore.com. Optimal Human, you love the green powder, super nutrient, the very best out there. Well, this is Optimal Human Nootropic called Mind Fuel. Introducing Mind Fuel, a super healthy, super strong energy nootropic adaptogen, which doesn't make you sick, doesn't have a letdown. It is incredible. Not just a few of the bottles. Look how many bottles are in there. And I only drink about half a bottle a day. It's so strong. But look at that right there, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what comes in each box of this. And it is simply amazing. Optimal Human Nootropic Mind Fuel is here. This clean, caffeine-free energy shot is designed for clear thinking, steady focus, and zero compromise. It's time to abandon sugary energy drinks and stimulant-heavy formulas in favor of clean, functional, nootropic-based energy. 0 calories, sugar-free, no crash, no blood sugar spike. Can be used daily without any guilt. Caffeine-free formula, smooth, clean energy, ideal for caffeine-sensitive users and late-day use. It's also got all these other incredible compounds like citicoline, alpha GPC, GABA, supports mental clarity and focus. It appeals to both biohackers and holistic consumers. High-quality electrolytes and B vitamins. More than a brain shot, true functional fuel. Optimal Human Nootropic Mind Fuel, that's the name of the product, isn't just another energy product. It's a smarter alternative for consumers who demand clarity, control, and clean performance without compromise. Get 25% off for life when you become a subscriber, canceling time for free. Get Mind Fuel now at thealexjonesstore.com. And if you've never tried the original superfood greens, Optimal Human, you really want to get this as well. It's the best green food I've ever had at thealexjonesstore.com. The widest selection of Patriot apparel, all sorts of cool collectible knives and more. And that's what funds us, and that's what does this. And I really appreciate your support because I can't do it without you. I want to commend and thank the listeners. But just like I steered you right on gold and silver 2.5 years ago, I got out of the market before that. I said, now's the time. I was totally right. Just like I steer you right on politics. These products are incredible. Get our Ultra Methylene Blue. It is the best in the market. Our Shilajit is the best. Our Irish Moss is the best. Our turmeric is the strongest. Ultimate Turmeric. TheAlexJonesStore.com. You are missing out. You don't get it. I want to thank those that have supported. I want to challenge those that haven't. What are you waiting for?
Just what I needed for my morning jog.
Working 12 to 13 hours a day, Mind Fuel keeps me on my toes and in the action.
Try this energy shot for a boost like no other. Power your mind and body today.
The entire world is racing into the fourth turning and the greatest quickening our species has seen in 10,000 years of recorded history. You know you're in a war, right? And it's a declared war. The globalists have declared war on Team Humanity. They've declared war on the God that made us. It is not incredible. It is not heroic. It is not amazing to fight this. It is survival. This is the priority. This is the real world. This is game time. This is the crossroads of human destiny right now. Right now. And I see a bunch of other people not realizing how desperate the situation is. We need maximum urgency. We're up against the most evil people the world's ever seen. Don't you understand that? I don't want anybody to go out and be physically violent. I want you to kill with truth. Kill with your will. Kill their lies.
leading a frontal assault on the lies of the New World Order. It's Alex Jones. Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want to stop tyranny? Well, so does he. Live from the Infowars.com studios, it's Alex Jones.
Well, the planets have aligned today. What a list of guests. My good friend and talk about champion of health and freedom and true American, Del Bigtree, is in studio now. Cam Higbee, incredible investigative journalist that just blew wide open the signal operations and the illegal activities of the Democrats trying to trigger a civil war. Brian Krasenstein, a demonic Democrat Party operative, will be debating me coming up. And then Kelsey Sharon, Canada passed regulations that they kill you. They call it euthanasia. You don't decide to be killed. They kill you. They make you a ward of the state, and they kill you. Children, old people, you name it. And they just killed an old woman that begged not to be killed and begged her family. I mean, this is just over the top. Where will they be going next? And, you know, at the end of the day, I've got all these clips of former high-level Democrat billionaire women coming out and saying, I was in the meetings with the Google heads that they were married to and others saying, we're going to bring in world government, we're going to depopulate, we're going to make everybody slaves. And now there's more clips of these women going public. And of course, you know, some of them have been going public for a long time. And like Nicole Shanahan working with RFK Jr. and this guy right here is chief of communications. So this is out in the open, folks. They act all liberal. You can look at mistakes Trump makes or any of this stuff, but at the end of the day, they're trying to destabilize things. They're pushing the depopulation agenda. With Trump, we've got a major breakout to turn this around. So in the limited time he's got, I'd like Dale Bigtree to give us a report. I'm not an infighter. I don't like to stir up trouble, but we've had a lot of problems in the last year and the first year of Trump, where he turns Kennedy loose. Kennedy makes the right thing. They stab him in the back. The administrators sign fake documents, reverse what he's done. He comes back from vacation, reverses that. All these insiders trying to get rid of him. And then you've got the DOJ. No, we're keeping fluoride in the water. Well, no, we're getting rid of it. No, we're not going to allow cases against Pfizer and Moderna. So there's a real problem here, and I'll just say it. It is Susie Wiles. It is Pam Bondi and their lobbying firm. And with them, it's just classic lobbying. I'm not even saying they're the devil. They're just establishment people, and they're a major loggerhead, and we need to put pressure out of the public, and you need to put it out, to get further behind Kennedy, because he's knocked it out of the park. What I thought he could even do, knowing how this works, he's done, on a scale of 1 to 10, he went 20. He did like double what I could imagine. And to list it all would take 5 hours. So it's just that alone, I 100% feel good about getting Trump in, because there's all this purism that goes on. Oh, well, he didn't do this or didn't do that. I'm going to go after his ass with the Iran stuff next hour. The point is that he at least is trying to be good and believes what he's doing is right. And if you can convince him, as Roger Stone always says, you give him the right facts and enough time with him, he'll do the right thing. He's not a bad guy. Okay, so that's my breakdown. Del Bigtree, good to have you here. Of course, host of the mega viral ongoing program, The High Wire, thehighwire.com, and so much more, in The Inconvenient Study, where you got them to do this big, giant scientific study, and then they tried to cover it up. You testified, obviously, that's come out in Congress. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Not just your public work, behind the scenes, folks. Like a lot of my best work's behind the scenes, but compared to this guy behind the scenes, it's not about credit, it's just one knowing the big pharma sees you as Darth Vader. I mean, you are amazing. We see you as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Del Bigtree, you got the floor. Give us a report.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Alex. It's a pleasure to be here. And
by the way, badass job.
Thank you, man. You know, I was just talking to Harrison, and he said, you know, we got to worry about people being demoralized. This should not be a time for anyone in America to be demoralized. I like to really focus on what we are achieving, You know, we are capable of so much greatness. We dodged a bullet when Donald Trump dodged that bullet. America, we were looking at losing freedom of speech. We were being censored online. We had an agency, you know, we had a government that was saying to us, we're going to stop misinformation. When you realize in the middle of the pandemic, when everybody with blood moving through their brains recognized that the most misinformation that's ever been spread was being spread by our own government, and they were saying to us they were going to be the arbiters of speech, of, you know, true information. That was exactly what our founding fathers had warned us about. And I think that we really, you know, are seeing really major changes with President Trump. Is he perfect? Nobody's perfect. But I agree with what your assessment is. I think he's passionate. I think he believes what he's doing. You know, I see the debates. Is he deep state? Is he owned? The man does not appear to me to be someone that can be
Well, they hate
owned.
him because he is his own man. He's got major blind spots. But
He
we're
does
not,
have blind spots. I agree, as we probably all do.
and we're not dressing this up. It's insanely good what's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still a lot of bad, but compared, it's night and day.
When you in the space that I know, so I was director of communications for Robert Kennedy Jr. when he ran for president. I got to ride that all the way into the Oval Office when he put his hand on that Bible and, you know, was sworn as HHS secretary. I think personally, and maybe I have a bias, that Robert Kennedy Jr. has been the most effective part of the
Hands down, no one debates that.
You know, and so when you watch what's happening, sure, the people are like, why didn't he just wipe out the entire vaccine program as soon as he got there? Well, I'll be honest, Alex, we had conversations about this, that was not going to be the approach to use.
They'd have been able to remove him. You helped quarterback it. You develop the plan, you discredit it, you put out the studies, and then you do it.
You have to do it based on science.
You set it up and you knock them down.
Mostly the science has not been done. We have this entire, you know, dearth of science not there.
But the aerosol out, not giving kids the all these shots at birth, cutting it from
hepatitis B vaccine gone. You just saw the biggest reduction in the vaccine program as far as what.
Yeah, list the accomplishments.
Yeah, all right. So I mean, look, let's start with the food, because people like complaining, well, what's he doing with the food? He's trying to win over every granola mom in America that still considers themselves liberal, who wanted chemicals out of our baby food, who wanted the arsenic and the lead out of our baby food.
And working 7 days a week, crisscrossing the country.
All over.
And getting states to pass it when he can't get the feds to do it.
And getting investigations into fluoride, standing as HHS secretary in Utah saying, good for you getting fluoride out. That's a real problem if Pam Bondi wants to try and
removing the lies off the websites that the shots are safe and effective.
That's it. Huge rewrote all of it, where it used to say vaccines don't cause autism. He had to still leave it there, you know, just because of some deals that were made. But what it said is, this is a non-scientific statement. There aren't studies that show, there aren't enough studies that hasn't been properly done to say that vaccines aren't causing.
And by the way, these are bureaucracies. The way he's navigating it, like I said, he's doing double better than what I thought. I would have been pleased with half of what he's got done.
It's really impressive. And frankly, it's sort of like when I first started, when you said I'm going to run for president, I knew it'd be good on the vaccine issues, but how are you on like foreign policy? It's like, Del, I've written books on it. This feels like that as I'm watching him. You feel like,
let's just say it, he's an amazing individual.
He's an amazing individual that understands how politics moves.
I hope he's president. I hope he's president in 3 years.
Well, you know, I don't know if that's a goal of his. I think I mean, at least when I've had dinner with him, he seems to be very, very satisfied with the
we also saw what happened to his dad and uncle, and I'm thinking.
I don't think that's, by the way, that's never going to stop him from doing anything.
Oh, yeah.
I've never met anyone more fearless than Robert Kennedy Jr., but let's look at where he's at. He just had the biggest reduction in the vaccine program we've ever seen, honestly brought on by President Trump. I want to give Trump the credit for this, saying to Robert Kennedy Jr., he basically said, look, I want you to look at the peer nations, the other nations that are giving less vaccines, talk to their scientists and see if we can't move our system towards that. That was a mandate. That mandate was upon Robert Kennedy Jr. They did that investigation. And so what you just saw starting out this year is we're moving into the Denmark study. Into the Denmark model. The only thing we're adding is chickenpox. You know, not exactly sure why, but we're holding on to chickenpox vaccine as a mandated product. But ultimately, we're reducing from 54 shots down to about 23 shots.
And when you don't make it mandated, right, doesn't it start to remove liability protection?
You know, I thought that. Apparently, there's another step that has to happen. Robert Kennedy Jr. is going to have to then, have to make adjustments to the compensation program and the list of things that are protected. There's another step that he's going to have to make, but you're on your way to removing liability.
But suddenly they're putting disclaimers on the shots saying this can kill you.
All of that. I mean, we're going to start having black box labels. Look at what you just had. You just had Stephen Bonsell head of Moderna at Davos just, I think, 3 or 4 days ago say, we're stopping our phase 3 trials of vaccinations because of the resistance by Robert Kennedy Jr., the HHS secretary. Essentially what he's saying to you, because the only resistance is you have to do a double-blind placebo trial and prove that the product works.
That's what Kennedy did.
Apparently, finally, that is too much resistance. To demand that vaccines go through the same exact safety trials that every other drug Moderna makes, every other drug that Pfizer makes, all that Robert Kennedy Jr. and Dr. Marty McCary are doing at FDA, saying you got to go through those double-blind placebo trials and prove, in case of the flu shot, which just did not get approved. Because
they admit it's never worked.
Because it's never worked enough. So you're going to have to prove that it actually deals with the strain that's circulating in our country. They couldn't do it, and therefore the vaccine's not being approved. All things that we assumed was happening the whole time.
And just a few of these wins would be incredible, discrediting him. And I know the heat I've gotten. I can't imagine Trump or it. But Kennedy, I just see it everywhere. The attacks, well, he just stoically ignores it, doesn't defend himself. He is under massive attack. We should be praying for him.
Yeah, but remember, he's been under massive attack for, decades now. This is a guy that, fought to clean up our water, clean up our food supply his whole life. As soon as he got in and said, look.
Real stuff like stop dumping toxic waste in rivers.
That's it. Cleaned up the Hudson River. One of the greatest environmental accomplishments in the history of mankind. But he was, especially on this vaccine issue, he's been attacked mercilessly. So he's used to it. He's developed a thick skin. And I will tell you, he's a man on a mission. He knows why he's there. And frankly, not winning as president, which is what we were going for, we were there to try and get power over who is HHS secretary. They just cleared his slate. They took away his.
Look at the CIA publication.
Look at that guy. That guy is
the Atlantic admits America's real Secretary of War.
Absolutely. He is waging war on corporate corruption, which is what he stated he would do when he was running for president. And you do not have greater examples of corporate corruption than the pharmaceutical industry and their stranglehold on our regulatory agencies.
You remember the emails a decade ago in Australia where they go, we need to kill these activists. They actually say kill people.
It's really unbelievable. And, when we were talking to the guys that had to do his security and Gavin DeBecker, they said, Robert Kennedy Jr., when you're running for president, when you're out there, I would have to direct him on stage. I had to go through classes on how to protect someone. And they said, he is probably the most threatened human being walking the planet Earth, maybe second only to Donald Trump. Those guys were, neck and neck. The fact that both those guys are standing inside of our government right now,
testament to God,
pushing the envelope, is a testament to the miraculous power of. And by the way, let's take a moment. You, the people that go out and vote. You, the people that believe that change is possible. You that are watching these shows, sharing Alex Jones's show, sharing the work that I've done, sharing the podcast that Robert Kennedy Jr. did. It's only because the force and will of the people that we find ourselves in this situation.
And evil's losing, so they're really ramping up right now, folks.
They're ramping it up, and it's still got its tendrils inside of there. And
so we got to ramp up.
We have got to ramp up. And this next election, by the way, is critical. Because if we lose the House, if we lose the Senate, if that happens, I assure you, Robert Kennedy Jr. will be the first one impeached, I believe.
Oh, they said that.
They will set out to destroy him right away. And he's working like he sees it as a potential. This guy is, he's got a fire underneath him now. You just saw him.
Follow him. He's in South Dakota. He's in New York. He's in Florida. He's in Texas. I can't even keep track of it.
It's really, he's dedicated.
And he's flying in coach.
In fact, right. And if you ever go and catch him on coach, it's like he's sitting there taking photos with everybody getting on the plane. He loves meeting people. He loves the people. I love the statement he made just a few weeks ago saying, hey, anyone that thinks I'm going to leave, I'm not going anywhere. You can keep asking for it.
But we are gushing because literally it's proven, it's real. We need to celebrate our heroes.
You got to celebrate your heroes, and you got to take a moment to celebrate your victories. Sure, there's a lot we can point out that isn't happening. Things that, like fluoride in the water. Why is it Pam Bondi is sort of blocking, any sort of lawsuits on fluoride? Why is it, I think the fact that Rand Paul is saying that there is something obstructing, that Robert Kennedy Jr., Rand Paul are ready to try and bring indictments against,
and
Anthony Fauci.
Protecting Fauci.
What?
The DOJ is protecting Fauci.
They are protecting Fauci.
That's what he said 2 weeks ago on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Senator Paul, you're right.
Yeah.
So let's just say it. It's Pam Bondi. It's the chief of staff. And we're sorry. We're not going to compromise.
Yeah.
We don't want to try to be mean to the administration, but holy hell, these are kids' lives we're talking about. Stop it. So what do we need to do?
Well, first of all, the pressure has to stay on, and you have to really look at who you're voting for. Republican, Democrat doesn't matter as much as do they believe in medical freedom? Do they believe in freedom of speech? You know, do they stand by your right to vote, your right to move freely in this world without, you know, having AI?
And that's why back when I was nonpartisan, when I was nonpartisan, Republicans were so pro-war, Democrats didn't like them on some issues. At least Democrats used to overall get health freedom. Now they turn into the biggest tyrants ever.
It's really, as I sat there, I've said this to you before, as I sat in the Senate watching the votes come in, watching Bernie Sanders and Pocahontas and everybody coming in to vote, and I sat there with my brother. We grew up Democrats, liberals from Boulder, Colorado, fought for the environment, definitely thought that my hippie parents, you know, that raised us with, you know, all like health food and organic food, I watched the entire party voting against, you know, the confirmation.
You were a
of Robert
top
Kennedy
national
Jr.
TV producer. To kind of boil it down, and they wouldn't let you tell the truth or put your stories out the way you wanted, so you left and did this.
Yeah, well, I mostly left because there was a whistleblower inside the CDC that was telling us we are committing scientific fraud on the vaccine safety studies. That changed my life forever. And I say this to every reporter I talk to. I've been right the whole time. I mean, look, I'm willing to be wrong. But why is it when I said they've never done a placebo-based trial, you can't show me one? There is none to be seen.
Yeah, so you're a producer doing medical reports for national news.
That's it.
You see the evidence, you know, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go rogue here. And you certainly did.
I did. I made a documentary called Vaxxed. I left my job at CBS as an Emmy Award-winning producer of the daytime talk show The Doctors, but only because I saw so much evidence, and you are now seeing that evidence coming out. There's no stopping it. Let me just make this perfectly clear. If you're brand new, Alex Jones covers this all the time. There have never been safety studies of any of the childhood vaccines you're giving your kids. People will say to me, are there any good ones, Del? I don't know. There's no way to know whether any of these vaccines are more dangerous or safer
it's a black box.
Than the virus. It is an absolute, your guess, but all I can say is this. Never been a safety study. I personally make a point of never injecting anything into my own kids that has never been through a safety study. It's just a little personal thing that I stick to. You can do whatever you want, but when they try to say, well, Del, it's been proven safe, you know, by the 50 years we've been using it, really? Really? So you're pointing to the health of our kids as the representation
and their health is the worst on the planet.
The worst on the planet, the worst we've seen in this country.
Yeah, give those numbers.
The sickest generation. 54% of our kids or more are chronically ill. If you watch my movie, An Inconvenient Study, where I challenged the head of infectious disease at Henry Ford Health, he finally did a vaccinated versus unvaccinated study, refused to publish it when it was done, 20,000 kids. We've talked about it. But what did they find? And why do I think they didn't publish it? Maybe because what they found was if you were vaccinated, you were 2.5 times more likely to develop a chronic disease than if you weren't vaccinated. If you were vaccinated, 6 times the rate of neurodevelopmental disorders, 6 times the rate of autoimmune disease. These numbers are horrific. They're shocking. And look, I say at the end of the movie, does this prove that our autoimmune disease, chronic disease crisis is being caused by the vaccines? No. It's only a signal. It's a retrospective study. It has its weaknesses. But this is about the 10th study now, Alex Jones, of all that's ever been done in the world.
We're finally getting
Everyone is showing us the same result. And so what you cannot find anywhere in the world is the most obvious study done by anybody. Pfizer, by Moderna, by GlaxoSmithKline, by Kaiser Permanente, by the NHS in England or HHS. No one has ever compared vaccinated to unvaccinated individuals and showed that the vaccinated are healthier. Wasn't that the point of the entire freaking program, was to make our kids healthier? If it's not and you can't prove it, then you, as consumers out there, are left with, no matter what Robert Kennedy Jr. does, you got to say, oh, hell no. Oh, hell no, until you can show me that vaccines are making children healthier. Show me how.
And sure, well, that's like saying, you're not a pathologist, but I could watch that film in Vietnam where the monk puts gasoline on himself, you know, in Saigon and lights himself on fire. He killed himself with gasoline. So I don't need to be a scientist. I interview all the scientists. We know from all the studies they finally have done and all the evidence and all of it. I was on there 30-something years ago. They had even back then, big media did a better job back then, like CBS, ABC. Turns out they never guessed the flu shot right. So it actually lowers your immunity and hurts you. The flu shot doesn't work. I mean, I remember in 2001 it leaked that they had that big CDC meeting with their board, and they admitted, oh my God, we've made millions of autistic kids, we got to cover it up, but we got to fix the shots. They didn't. So we've known this a long time. I mean, we've got major smoking guns here.
We got major smoking guns, and we're the ones that keep ending up being on the right side of this news. This news cycle, I keep saying, I'm saying it to Atlantic, I'm saying it to New York Times. Look at this headline here. Fauci and Collins brushed off impressive data for COVID natural immunity. We can't just take this as a headline and let it slide by. This means that what we're finding out, this is Fauci and Collins. There's a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act request, that shows that they're giggling in an email, talking about, wow, look at the natural immunity that they're seeing in Israel. This was 2021, this email's going on. This is halfway through, I think it's around October.
So they know what is known.
They know that what they literally say in their emails is, it looks like natural immunity is better than vaccinated immunity. And then one of the doctors that they're working with says, well, that just means we can sell more booster shots. That's literally how they think about it. But when it comes down, you got Paul Offit now doing videos all over there bragging about the fact that I was in the room with Rochelle Walensky and Anthony Fauci and Francis Collins, and we were debating, should we tell the American people that natural immunity is actually more robust and stronger than the vaccine itself? And they all sat there and said, no, let's not do that. In fact, let's tell them that they have to get vaccinated whether they've been sick and have immunity or not. And Alex, all of our children got a vaccine that only puts them at risk. They had no risk for this disease. They are now getting myocarditis, pericarditis. There's only risk. But here's what's even worse. They had no science on what happens if you have immunity and you still get the vaccine. And here's what's mind-blowing. By the time our kids are being vaccinated, you had to assume they'd all caught it. This is one of the most infectious diseases we've ever seen. We had herd immunity, and they erased it with this vaccine program.
And we're simpaticos. I was about to go to the point of Redfield, one of the top officials during this, is now running around covering his ass going, it's not really a vaccine. It doesn't work. It hurts you. I'm sorry. I wasn't involved. So the fact is the rats are leaving the sinking ship in a big way.
That was one of the things when I was interviewing Scott Atlas that blew my mind. And he told me from internally inside that Redfield and Deborah Birx did not believe in the mRNA vaccine. They thought it was a joke. And that made me realize, by the way, it's a whole other conversation.
And they even sent emails to cover their ass at the time.
They did, but like this is part of I want to watch the they. We act like they is this concerted effort, that they're all working lockstep. What you realize when you really study COVID is that it was just a bunch of opportunists working different agendas from us out here without enough information. It all looks like they're working together, but Fauci and Birx hated each other. They didn't agree.
Exactly.
Birx was like a military operation to test and see if we could be locked down and mask ourselves for no reason, and Fauci's trying to cover his tracks with a vaccine that he's going to make money on. And it wasn't that
Redfield and Birx were good. They were old. They were like, this is too dangerous. We're going to get in trouble. It's like, don't rob the bank at noon.
Right.
Rob it at midnight. They were like, in the email, like, well, dude, come on. Like, come on.
Yeah, well, this vaccine is going to screw up our whole military operation, which is a test to see, can we use these people like monkeys? Can we make them sit down, stand up, mask on, mask off, walk through doors, close on mask, walk into a restaurant, standing, mask on, sitting, mask off. Will they put up with it? Will they never ask a question? Will they just let us mind control them? That's what they were up to. Fauci's just had a totally different agenda. I want to get this mRNA technology
He just wants to kill
going.
people.
I think he does. I think of all of them.
Look at everything he's done his whole life. The AZT, all of it. He's a killer.
He has always taken away your access to drugs that appear to be working.
And Redfield's like, hey, I'm a eugenicist. But come on, this is bad for business, guys. This drug business in the end will destroy us. He's like, this mRNA will destroy us in the end. They go, screw you, Redfield. But it did. That destroyed public trust in the globalists.
It did.
That's really I think the end. It takes time, but I see that as the end of them. No matter what they try, what they do, at the end of the day, the trust is lost.
I think the genie's out of the bottle. You're never going to get back. See, Alex, we were alone. There was really only, you had Andy Wakefield out there all by himself. Now you've got Dr. Peter McCullough, the world's leading heart doctor in the world, most published heart doctor. He has jumped off of the vaccine program. He's not just leaving COVID vaccine. He's saying, if I had the choice now, I wouldn't vaccinate my kids. You have Dr. Paul Miller,
the inventor of mRNA.
Dr. Robert Malone coming out and saying, I wouldn't vaccinate my kids right now. There's no testing on these products. And now he's one of the leading voices in your advisory committee on immunization practices. These aren't people that are anti-science nutters. These are the tops in their field that have come to our side, Alex. They're coming to our side.
By the way, you got to do 50 more minutes the next hour because I know you got to go too, but I know it's up to him. But what's crazy is none of this is getting attention from patriots because we just want to bitch and say Trump isn't perfect. I'm watching congressional hearings with Robert Malone and all these other experts and Peter McCullough dropping bombshell.
Yeah.
And like, we need to be magnifying that, but we can't say Trump's doing any good, so we can't do that. Forget Trump.
Yeah.
Just what Kennedy and these guys are doing is historic.
It is historic, and I think it's as you said, I think it's proof of God's will. I think we are all alive in this moment for a reason. We're here. And look.
You're damn right we are. Stay right there.
Yep.
All right, we'll do 50 more minutes with Del Bigtree. Del Bigtree, an inconveniencestudy.com. That's so important, highwire.com. And then after he leaves us at 15 after, I've got to take Trump to the woodshed on Iran. It's just, which is good. We'll get him back on track. I'm here to announce a new, extremely exciting product at thealexshowstore.com, and that's Mind Fuel. Brought to you by the same folks that developed Optimal Human. This is an Optimal Human product. We set out with our sponsor, Bigley, to come out with a clean, nootropic energy shot that doesn't have any letdown, but gives you clean energy. This stuff is so strong, though, I take half a shot in the morning, it's a big shot, and another half in the afternoon if I need to work late. But again, you can still sleep on it because it's not a traditional stimulant. So if you loved Optimal Human, the strongest, best, super nutrient-packed green drink out there, available right now, thealexshowstore.com, you are going to love Mind Fuel. And when I go through these ingredients, go research these for yourself, and then know, when you find out how great they are, that we have the very best and the very strongest in this product, Mind Fuel, available right now at thealexshowstore.com. Nootropic Mind Fuel is here. This clean, caffeine-free energy shot is designed for clear thinking, steady focus, and zero compromise. It's time to abandon sugary energy drinks and stimulant-heavy formulas in favor of clean, functional, nootropic-based energy. 0 calories, sugar-free, benefit, no crash, no blood sugar spike. Advantage can be used daily without guilt, and it's good for your whole body, not just your brain. Caffeine-free formula, smooth, clean energy. Advantage, ideal for caffeine-sensitive users and late-day use. Nootropic Alpha GPC, Citracoli, DMAE, GABA. Benefit, supports mental clarity and focus. Advantage, competes with premium brain formulas in a convenient shot. And the best part is, it's an adaptogenic and herbal proprietary blend. Balanced, grounded energy. Advantage, appeals to both biohackers and holistic consumers. And then it's got high-quality electrolytes and a spectrum of high-quality B. If you love our other products, thealexshowstore.com, you're going to love Mind Fuel. And if you haven't tried our ultramethylene blue or our Shilajit or Irish sea moss or our bovine colostrum, you're crazy. These are all incredible products. Get your Mind Fuel now at thealexshowstore.com. It'll keep us on the air while empowering your life.
Infowars.com studios, it's Alex Jones.
In February of 2022, I was asked with 3 other immunology virology types to participate in a conference call about whether or not natural infection should count as a vaccine. Whether they should be able to say, look, here, I was naturally infected here. This should serve as my vaccine card. And that meeting was held with Rochelle Walensky, Tony Fauci. We voted on it, and it was sort of 2-2, basically. I mean, I was one of the, I think natural infection should count for obvious reasons. So I saw Dr. Fauci at a meeting maybe a year ago or so. I said, Tony, am I wrong? Am I wrong in making it? He said, no, you're right. The problem is, the minute you say that, it becomes a nuanced message, and a nuanced message is a garbled message. If you really want to make sure those groups get vaccinated, then you...
Whatever the future may hold, InfoWars will always live forever.
All right, going back to Del Bigtree with us till 15 after, host of the High Wire, the big advisor to Kennedy. This is a shorter set. We're about to join some stations in a few minutes, but I wanted to play the clip you mentioned, recap what we were just talking about.
Yeah, I mean, look, what he is saying is that we lied to the American people. We made a decision for you. This is exactly not how our government is supposed to work. It's supposed to be of, for, and by the people.
And they're supposedly whistleblowers as the good guys.
We're supposed to be trusted. We're supposed to be trusted to vote for our leaders. We're supposed to know what information is true and what's not true. And instead they said, don't tell people that natural infection works better, because then we'll have a line out the door, people saying, hey, I've been naturally infected, and we don't want to have to test all of them. We're just going to vaccinate all of them. Vaccinate everybody. Obviously, it makes a lot more money to vaccinate everybody. But what we now know is it probably is wiping out your immunity. Now you are going to have to get a vaccine every 15 weeks, because that's what we now know from Cleveland Clinic studies, that you have negative efficacy after 15 weeks. The thing only lasts 15 weeks, and then it doesn't disappear. It hurts your immune system from protecting you. So now you're more likely, you have an increased risk of COVID every 15 weeks after a vaccine. This is crazy.
We have video of the head of the Crick Institute that headed up the UK response. in late 2020 saying, we've done tests, 3 shots basically erases your immune system. This will be our new business model, and laughing about it.
And look at what you have. I mean, now when they say deadly flu outbreaks, I'm like, well, you don't have an immune system. I mean, we might have deadly flu in the future. We might have deadly COVID in the future, only because our immune system has been so compromised by this product. And then you've got spike protein, which is causing all sorts of hell inside of the body. Looks like it may even be, affecting perhaps your offspring. We don't know what's doing in your DNA, but they're testing people and finding out 750 days after vaccination, their body is still a spike protein manufacturing
You're
plant.
always conservative. There's a bunch of studies out now that it is leaking into the DNA.
Right. Right, you're right. I am always conservative. I want to cross-reference it before I make the.
I'm just saying,
official
as bad
statement.
as what you're, I know you know more than I do.
Right.
You're the expert on this. I'm just saying, you're like dialing it back to me.
There are lots of studies now, and they're adding up showing that it looks like this spike protein leads to prion disease. That's mad cow disease. That's Creutzfeldt-Jacobs. This is like really scary stuff. Alzheimer's being increased, Parkinson's being increased. We're talking about destroying your brain is what it looks like this vaccine
And by the way,
is doing.
this is a clip on the list from folks you work with here. Dealing with this, like they're proving that these prions, this is creating prions.
This is your scariest thing there is. There's no cure for prion disease.
So I had this for you, and I forgot about it. Guys, pull the clip. It's the list. We'll cover that next segment.
Okay.
Tell us briefly about this.
So essentially, prion disease it's in your body, but when your cells start misfolding, mad cow disease, right? Which is also, when we first saw this, was cannibals. When people eat other people, all of a sudden they start going crazy because their brain starts deteriorating. That's essentially the same thing as mad cow disease, and that is what a prion disease is.
Spongiform encephalopathy.
It just is a horror show inside of your brain, and now there's multiple studies, new ones coming out right now, that there's an increase in Alzheimer's risk. There it is. Can mRNA COVID-19 vaccine cause prion disease or Alzheimer's? This isn't just one study group. There are tons of studies now coming out.
And they call it long COVID. But
what is long COVID, right? I mean, we can't get to the bottom of that. How many people have long COVID that didn't get the vaccine? You can't get a clear answer on that. This entire thing is manipulated. Look, there may be problems with the virus. We made the virus too. There's a real problem here.
That's right. Saying China did it, I'm not a fan of China, is a scapegoat. It was made in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, moved to China. We'll be right back in 60 seconds with Dale Bigtree. Stay with us. Just share the live feed now.
Harrison, I am so excited to talk to you. I want to plug the Irish sea moth was a big game changer for me. I was having a lot of thermoregulation issues, like morning severe chills and cold in the morning. All that stopped with the sea moth because it's a thyroid issue, and the sea moth has that iodine to heal your thyroid.
Isn't that amazing?
The methylene blue, the methylene blue, life-changing. I love it. I don't need caffeine anymore. It's amazing, but I'm trying to be quick.
It's all right. Hey, when you're plugging, we got all the time in the world.
I love his supplement formulas. I am an acupuncturist. I have a master's degree in Chinese medicine, and he's got some really good formulas put together. And they work really well. I really appreciate it. I've stopped taking all of my other stuff that I was taking, and I just take a lot of you guys' stuff. I mean, because I love you and I want to support everything you guys are doing, but the formulas are good.
You can only find out for yourself what effects these things will have. TheAlexJonesStore.com.
Waging war on corruption. It's Alex Jones coming to you live from the front lines of the info war.
On fire, Dale Bigtree. I talk about a public champion of health and behind the scenes. Oh my God, the lawsuits you guys fund, everything with Kennedy. Yeah. I mean, these guys are just so committed. And yeah, I'm celebrating that because that's the energy we need. A football game's great. Go have fun. You get so excited about your team winning. This is the future of our children. You mentioned this. I had a clip today I wanted to show you.
Yeah.
But there's so many studies, so much about the prion effect. Tell us what this clip covers.
Yeah, so this is Nick Holscher, who's a great new research scientist at the McCullough Foundation. We talked about Peter McCullough earlier. Just take a look at it and let him do this.
Yeah, here's the clip. Here it is.
Take a look.
This study is highly disturbing. They found 100% of COVID-19 vaccinated individuals have these circulating anomalous amyloid microclots in their blood. This is misfolded fibrin that sticks to many biologically active materials circulating in the body, and it conglomerates into these irregular masses that block blood flow and cause all sorts of horrible issues. It's the exact same pathology that has been identified as being behind the long, white fibrous clots being pulled out of corpses worldwide. Majority of embalmers now across the globe do now pull these white fibrous clots out of corpses, and this is what's behind them.
Including children.
So if it's in 100% of the vaccinated population, we are running into a serious issue here. This needs to be investigated immediately by the CDC, do their job for a change, and investigate what is happening to the population. And even those who were unvaccinated, there was only about 4 of them, but it appears they also did have these circulating amyloid fibrils in their blood. And so we don't know how many people these are inside of, but based on this sample, which they didn't know they would have these clots, but when they looked, it was in all of them. This is very serious. These have to be pulled off of the market immediately.
I've had coroners on from Canada, the U.S., UK. Yeah. I've had undertakers, embalmers in the UK, Ireland, Germany. And they just say they never saw these till now. And it's they just pull out these giant things.
Never saw them before. Calling each other, are you getting this? I'm getting it too. And they're crazy numbers. Some of these guys I've interviewed, like 50% of the people I'm embalming now, I cannot get the formaldehyde through. We've got to pull these clots out of their veins. And look.
Yeah, these aren't calcium clots like we actually get, like our faucets get.
No.
These are
they know what those are. They've seen those. They've never seen this.
Yeah.
Right. So,
and it starts literally right after the shots.
And so there's a little bit. So he's talking about misfolded proteins leading to these clots. These misfolded proteins are now being seen in the brains, causing Alzheimer's, amyloid plaques, same sort of issues. And this is why, let's just be really simple with the message here. Whether or not you think this is the worst vaccine ever made, or you think it was designed to destroy humanity, that gets out. I keep looking for the smoking gun.
It has the same effect.
I'm looking for the smoking gun that says they're killing us on purpose. But here's what I know for sure. No virus, no bacteria has ever swept this earth since the dawn of man and killed our species and wiped us off the planet. That has never happened. But if we keep allowing the pharmaceutical industry to rush to warp speed products onto the market, and then force our government says, now you have to take it in order to go to work, in order to go to school, in order to leave your house. If we keep doing that and making the world take a brand new product, it is only a matter of time before one of those products maybe does this to every single human being alive. And that's how you end your species. We're on the verge of a species-ending event of stupidity made by human beings, made by pharmaceutical control powers that didn't just have our government control, had our WF, had the WHO. Is working with Bill Gates.
Just so magically got control of all of it, and Bill Gates wants to depopulate, but he also wants you to live. Yes, it's all obviously a giant accident. They had all these movies like Utopia come out right before they admit they were going to do it. I mean, if this is a mistake, it's the most perfect mistake ever to kill people.
It is the greatest accidental death nail that's ever been created. But look, here's the conflict you have inside the government, because we got to talk about that. I think on one hand, you have President Trump. He is a commerce president. He says, I'm going to run this like a business. One of the biggest, probably the biggest industry in the world, the pharmaceutical industry. He doesn't want to lose that work. He doesn't want to lose Moderna to China. He doesn't want Pfizer to go over to China. So he's working to say, hey, let's all kumbaya here. Let's sit down with Steve Van Bancel. You see these pictures of Robert Kennedy Jr. there. He looks like he's swallowing his tongue. But on the other hand, you've got Robert Kennedy Jr. saying, hey, I don't care if you're doing business here, but you're going to have safety trials. You're going to have to prove that the thing can stop a virus that it says it's doing. And suddenly that means, then we're going to have to stop making this product. That's where this is at. So you do have a conflict in here, and one that's understandable. I don't know what I would do if I was Trump. You don't want to
Kennedy's using bureaucratic hurdles and shutting them down that way.
Yeah, and look at what Kennedy's having to do. He's having to make Trump happy. I will sit with Bancel. I will say I'm not going to end the pharmaceutical industry, but I am going to start telling you what science has been done and what hasn't been done. I'm going to be honest with the American people. So right now, if you really want to understand the medical industry, you got to focus all eyes on Robert Kennedy Jr. He is telling you everything he possibly is allowed to tell you right now. There's more coming. This is, the dam is breaking. If he keeps going, if he gets all 4 years, Alex, if we somehow get through this election and they can hold on to the mandate and Robert Kennedy Jr. gets to stay in there, because even the things that I think that Donald Trump is standing for, he's open-minded. He's looking at, as you said, I've talked to Roger Stone. This stuff is getting to him. Bobby Kennedy's getting to him. And Bobby is smart. He's like, I'm not going to push you faster than you will.
By the way, I've talked to a bunch of people from the news, too, with country stars, rock stars, whatever. He'll ask them, when nobody's asking, what do you think about the shots? What do you think? And they're all telling me it's on purpose. It's to kill us. That's what's getting to him. It's
getting to him. It's bothering him. That's why I think he went and injected it himself. I mean, I think the guy was like, I actually think he's a good guy that way, which is like, if that's true, then let it kill me. I'm going to show you I believe in this thing. It's got my Trump letters on the side of it. It's one of the mistakes he's made. But look, we're seeing changes. Let's just talk about the food program just for a second. The fact that our school children are no longer going to be served crappy fake milk, that we're going to start talking about whole food, that we're telling the whole world a real piece of steak is better than Fritos, is better than pizza.
Banning fake meat.
You know what I mean? We're getting rid of ultra-processed foods. Your food stamps aren't going to buy crappy sodas and non-food. You're going to buy real food. These are massive changes. So when you look at the mandate on Robert Kennedy Jr., Donald Trump said, I want you to get us out of this chronic disease epidemic. It's happening right before our eyes. It's happening.
It's happening faster than I thought. Let me ask this question in closing, and then action plans for you have the left trying to mobilize people for tyranny and surveillance and civil war. I'm not a guy that likes to talk about violence to act tough. I realize 90+% of war is informational. And if we get forced into violence, we basically lost one level of behind. But you have the so-called left saying Trump's Hitler, kill ICE, murder Trump supporters, murder, overthrow the government. They know they're desperate. They want to go to violence. I'm not calling for violence. I'm simply saying that I've thought about this a lot. If they release a new virus, whenever it is, this year when Trump's out, they do lockdowns again. They're trying to take us in vans to get shots, which the UN says they want. This time I'm not going to sit around and watch it. And so I hate my brain having to go to that place as an honorable person to say, I'm trying to fix this politically. I'm working 18 hours a day, literally. But I have to be honest. There's always, let us talk about violence. We got 30 million dead from the shots, and insurance actuaries growing. We've got devastation everywhere. And at a certain point, I'm opposing it and trying to get it fixed politically, and we're getting some traction. But I want the globalists and all of them to know that, at a certain point, this continues on or is done again. I think the gloves come off, and I'm not even trying to battle plan something. I'm just saying, you're a guy with married kids, engaged. Have you ever thought about that? About if they try this again? At a certain point, we've tried to fix it the peaceful way. I think the public needs to start thinking about, and the bad guys need to start thinking about, and I mean all of them. I mean, you saw Mangione shoot the healthcare executive in the back. Obviously it was a corrupt company and they denied care, and he's a big hero of the left. But you can say that guy didn't really know. With the shots with Fauci, they know, they knew, they do it again. They're covering it up now. They're still trying to push it when there's no doubt they know. At my point, we just need to say this is a war and let them know there's a line out there. And I hate to introduce this, but it's a natural thing to say I'm a coward if we don't start discussing the rules of war here if they try it again. Dale, Big Trey, closing comments on that.
Look, I think that anytime you have to use force, you turn into a bully, you've joined the other side, you've joined the dark side. I have said from the beginning, the reason I'm so passionate about this, the reason I fly all over the country, all over the world, I'm heading to Europe to show my film over there, everywhere.
I would imagine this is a man-to-man thing. If you went violent, you'd probably be pretty tough.
I'm telling you, I have worked as hard as I have because I don't ever want to know what Del Bigtree looks like the moment they knock on my door and say, we're going to force vaccinate your kids today. I don't want to see that Del Bigtree. I don't want to know who that guy is. Instead, I'm going to fight now.
But that's what I'm saying is I'm having to start unlocking who that guy is.
I don't think we have to. I think focus on
but the enemy needs to know this. I'm asking you as a...
I want the enemy to know this. We're winning. We have the power. We have the wind at our backs. And if their answer to what Robert Kennedy Jr. is that every Democratic state is going to ignore your vaccine program, and we're going to give twice the toxic load to everyone in California, everyone in New York, everyone in Connecticut, we're going to poison our kids to prove you wrong, then their game is over. People are going to flood out of California. There is no pro-vaccine movement.
I respect you. You're really smart. I figured you'd war game this. You would explain the ways of peace. We don't want to go to violence because we're in the right long term. They
want a war. They're the ones. It's the Democrats that keep picking a war. They're the ones that keep saying on all their news agencies, the Republicans got guns. They're going to start a civil war. They're going to start a civil war. They're obsessed with civil war. It's their only way out of this mess. They have to have us react violently. They have to have violence so that they can bring in the National Guard, finally bring in all the AI and will just please help us. We got war everywhere. They want the war. We have got to deny them the war. I would rather say this. I'm drawing a line in the sand. We will never go to war because we're smarter than you. We will never go to war because the power of the people is right. That we, the people, have the power. We will continue to vote. We will continue to stand up, and we will continue to use our voices.
And file
lawsuits. We're going to call all of our friends that live in New York and say, hey, wouldn't you rather live in Texas where you're getting half the vaccines? Come join us. Let's start bragging about the fact that we're standing with Trump. We're standing with Robert Kennedy Jr. and the changes that are being made. Then we empower the states that have the power, and we suck all the energy from Gavin Newsom and these oligarchs, these control oligarchs, these globalists that want to destroy the United States of America.
And we didn't talk about this beforehand. I figured I'd get some amazing answers, more amazing than I thought. That's exactly where I'm at. Everybody wants violence. You take that energy, realizing you're being murdered and they're killing all these kids, and you say, what do I do politically, culturally, economically, spiritually with information? Because if you just say the good old boys, the day I see a UN helmet, I'll kill them. They don't come like that. They come with NGOs and globalism and regulations and cutting your power. They're already here, folks. You beat them intellectually, spiritually, culturally, economically. You beat them by every day fighting them. And they want a fight because they can't win the info war.
That's right. And you're right in that you should be awake and know that they only have one way out of this, which is they are going to try and release a virus. They are going to try to break the rules. They are going to try to make us fearful. They are going to, have a UFO float over us and say you all have to lock yourselves in your houses. They need us locked in our homes. They need surveillance. So if you aren't doing everything you can, if you aren't sharing, Alex Jones' work, if you're not watching an inconvenient study, which is for free right now, and sharing with every friend you have in New York and California, say, you really want to be taking these products?
If you're not doing that, you're working against your own interests.
Then you will find yourself in a war that you never wanted. We can stop it if we all stand up and realize.
And we are stopping it.
We are stopping it. We are winning because we realize the power is in the people. We are created in the image and likeness of God. We have the power of God moving through us, Alex. I am not going to give in to war. I believe we are winning. I believe we'll continue to win, but it's not going to happen if everyone out there says, Alex Jones and Del Beatrice got this covered. Let me go to sleep. We need you. We're just a couple of talking heads. We need the people to stand and stand behind Robert Kennedy Jr. He needs you.
I agree, but people don't understand 90% of war is informational. All the good old boys just think, whatever comes around here, I'll get it. It's lazy. All around you. You've got to get engaged now.
That's it. You have to be engaged now. This is the most exciting time in the United States of America. I mean, this is Tea Party
world
moment.
History.
This is world history. That moment where Donald Trump and Bobby
pulled out of the World Health Organization. He pulled out
huge.
Of 66 agencies.
And by the way, when he pulls out of the World Health Organization, you know who ends up being the #1 funder? Bill Gates. I mean, is he a nation? What the heck is going on there? These are the types of things, and these are huge moves. And,
how do we deal with Bill Gates?
Donald Trump's Bill Gates, we just keep winning. Look, he went on a couple of years ago. Remember, he went on every news channel to try and promote his thing.
And it backfired.
And all the guys hate. They had to shut off all the social media because everyone hates him. He's a hated human being. Nobody loves him except the globalists at the WEF. When he goes to Davos, he gets 27 people in the world that clap. The rest of us think he is absolutely destroyed.
No, I saw Joe Rogan post a clip I did 4 years ago. It got 50 million views and had millions of comments. I read for days, couldn't find one pro-Gates comment.
Find one pro statement about him. That's true about all these people, and it's going to be true about Gavin Newsom. I hope they select him to be the presidential nominee for the Democratic Party, because then we're sure as set to be okay for a little bit while longer here. But in the end, we cannot just take this information. We can't have people just sit back and watch.
Well, God's given us the runway with Kennedy.
That's it.
And if you don't see that, folks, you're just pissing away your destiny. Del Bigtree, incredible job. Anytime the door's open, I'm glad you came on. Great job earlier this morning on American Journal, thehighwire.com, and inconveniencestudy.com, a free new film. Absolutely so powerful. Great job. You are the MVP in this fight with Kennedy. God bless you. So if I had to choose two people who are MVPs, it'd be Kennedy, and then you're like the co-pilot right there, buddy. So it's got to feel good. I love you, man.
I love you too. Take care.
All right, here's a fun thing McBreen put together. We put it out last night. Everybody thinks it's some coded message. It's just a joke. It's Planet of the Apes 2.0, and then we'll be right back with all the other news and a huge guest. Stay with us.
The future is now. Explorers from deep space crash land on a savage planet destined for annihilation.
Abandoned ship! Get out now!
They discover a world so unpredictable, so shocking, it will shatter your very concept of reality and reveal the dark destiny of man.
What alternate universe is this? What planet did I wake up in?
They own the banks, fund the wars, manage the politicians, control the media, and command the apes to enforce their tyranny.
You want to fight? You better believe you got one!
They tried to silence the one man who saw it coming. And the world he reveals will challenge every idea you've ever had of freedom.
They cut her. Did you know about this?
No, I swear, I never saw that girl before.
But you didn't. You cut up her brain, you bloody baboon. Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape.
Prepare yourself for the most shocking ending in the history of motion picture.
I've terrified you from the beginning, and I still do. You're afraid of me, and you hate me. Why?
Because you're a menace to our globalist plan. Be careful what you find, Alex. You might not like what you see.
Oh my God. You actually did it.
You activated the Great Reset, you maniacs! You blew it up! God damn you! Damn you all to hell!
The Alex Jones Show, the most banned broadcast on the planet.
So, we also
I'm a gorilla. Murder yourselves.
It makes
I am a gorilla. Kill yourself.
Let's.
Murder yourself.
I think we have to actually
stop right now. I am a gorilla. Let's get serious for a minute. I'm a gorilla. I am a gorilla. Murder yourself. All right, well, let me get serious. I am a gorilla. I am a gorilla. Murder yourself.
Stop distracting. This has been 10 minutes of you saying this. He said he took it to a religious place, which I didn't agree with, but he talked about
gorilla.
That's right, you are. He talked about the
I was gassing my car up 2 days ago, and I walk over and I go, it was like a woman. She goes, I'm a gorilla. I am a gorilla.
We're gonna go to Super Chats in a
It's like
second.
the best thing that can happen
I'm a gorilla.
is just
Murder yourself.
calmness.
Antiques.com.
I'm a gorilla.
On Instagram. Who
Murder
wants this?
yourself.
You want this?
Is that real mammoth too?
Yes, Mammoth Molar.
And if someone throws
I'm a mammoth.
nobody you have to gasp.
So
be worried about privilege.
I'm a gorilla.
Seize
Murder yourself.
Seize all universe towards having them lose their ability.
Hold on.
I'm a gorilla.
Yeah, wait, Alex.
Murder yourself.
Chris,
Walter and Natalie, congratulations from a gorilla.
Yes.
Now, can we get really serious here?
I'm not going to say it.
Skeet.
I'm a gorilla. Murder yourself.
We're like, all right, they're not angels, they're flawed, and that's all I ask.
I'm a gorilla. Murder yourself.
It's been nice knowing you, everybody.
It's real sure. It's not free.
I'm a gorilla.
It's not free.
Murder yourself.
Oh my gosh. Oh man, repeat it.
I have no idea why they did this clip. We had a little fun with the Planet of the Apes thing. I said in clear messages this morning, I'm not mad, but I'm just going to do it here on air because no one seems to understand this. I'm going to play the messages on air. But I started sending it at 5 a.m. I said, hey, I love this Planet of the Apes thing you made. Hadn't seen it until he made it. I just want me on Tim Pool saying, I'm a gorilla, murder yourself one time. One time. And then I want the Alex Jones, the 21st Century clip, because it deals with the future and future dimensions as well. So let's pull that. Alex Jones, 21st Century clip. I'm going to, I have an OCD thing about this because the crew does a great job. But I had all this huge program lined up. I have all these huge guests lined up, but I can't do anything with this now. Everything stops now. Because it was so clear. Have the Planet of the Apes clip. Have one time me saying, I'm a gorilla, murder yourself. And then go to the Buck Rogers piece they made like 10 years ago. That's all. That's all. That's all I want. So I'm going to stop the broadcast because I have to have it. And I just want the Planet of the Apes piece with one I'm a gorilla, murder yourself with the Alex Jones 21st Century clip. It's like when I said, go to the archivist, and I want him to pull clips about me saying they're going to blame Iran and claim surface-to-air missiles are going to kill Trump the day after they shot him at Butler. And I'm not mad. I got clips about sewing plastic explosives into a reporter's bag and getting on board. That was one thing I was worrying about as well. That, a bag with plastic explosives sewed into it is not surface-to-air missiles. In fact, I'm going to rebroadcast. I'm not mad. I'm leaving. It's metaphysical at this point. That I cannot understand how this is happening when it's so clear. One, you're a gorilla, murder yourself, which is the whole book they put out about the gorilla tells you depopulate, kill her by the UN push. Remember that? Whatever it was called, I forget the name of it. And then that clip. Well, it was a good show while it lasted. I metaphysically, though, have to punch out. Rebroadcast starts now. I am just blown right now. Just blown completely. That annoying, I'm a gorilla, murder yourself over and over and over again. I mean, God almighty, I have entered the ninth circle of hell. Now, this new product is incredible. It's from our sponsor, Bigley, at thealexjonesstore.com. Optimal Human, you love the green powder super nutrient, the very best out there. Well, this is Optimal Human Nootropic called Mind Fuel. Introducing Mind Fuel, a super healthy, super strong energy nootropic adaptogen, which doesn't make you sick, doesn't have a letdown. It is incredible. And that's just a few of the bottles. Look how many bottles are in there. And I only drink about half a bottle a day. It's so strong. Well, look at that right there, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what comes in each box of this. And it is simply amazing. Optimal Human Nootropic Mind Fuel is here. This clean, caffeine-free energy shot is designed for clear thinking, steady focus, and zero compromise. It's time to abandon sugary energy drinks and stimulant-heavy formulas in favor of clean, functional, nootropic-based energy. 0 calories, sugar-free, no crash, no blood sugar spike. Can be used daily without any guilt. Caffeine-free formula, smooth, clean energy, ideal for caffeine-sensitive users and late-day use. It's also got all these other incredible compounds like citicoline, alpha GPC, GABA, supports mental clarity and focus. It appeals to both biohackers and holistic consumers. High-quality electrolytes and B vitamins. More than a brain shot, true functional fuel. Optimal Human Nootropic Mind Fuel, that's the name of the product, isn't just another energy product. It's a smarter alternative for consumers who demand clarity, control, and clean performance without compromise. Get 25% off for life when you become a subscriber. Canceling time for free. Get Mind Fuel now at thealexjonesstore.com. And if you've never tried the original superfood greens, Optimal Human, you really want to get this as well. It's the best green food I've ever had at thealexjonesstore.com. The widest selection of Patriot apparel, all sorts of cool collectible knives and more. And that's what funds this, and that's what does this. And I really appreciate your support because I can't do it without you. So I want to commend and thank the listeners. But just like I steered you right on gold and silver 2.5 years ago, I got out of the market before that. I said, now's the time. I was totally right. Just like I steer you right on politics. These products are incredible. Get our ultramethylene blue. It is the best in the market. Our Shilajit is the best. Our Irish moss is the best. Our turmeric is the strongest. Ultimate turmeric. TheAlexJonesStore.com. You are missing out. You don't get it. I want to thank those that have supported. I want to challenge those that haven't. What are you waiting for?
Just what I needed for my morning jog.
Working 12 to 13 hours a day, Mind Fuel keeps me on my toes and in the action.
Try this energy shot for a boost like no other. Power your mind and body today.
I'm not an influencer, by the way. I'm a patriot and a journalist and a pundit and an analyst and a futurist and father and a guy who loves God. Influencer comes from the time of Plato and Aristotle and Socrates. And influencers are people that use rhetoric without facts and reality and logic to convince dumb people. So when the globalists call you all influencers and you go, yeah, I'm an influencer, it just shows how stupid you are. Stop calling yourselves influencers. I'm a philosopher. I'm a warrior. I'm a game changer. I'm a historian. I'm a fighter. I'm a pioneer. I'm an explorer. I got red blood. It's pumping to my big heart fast. I like life and freedom and justice. I like women. I like red meat. I like guns. I like sunsets and puppy dogs. And ladies of the night. To quote Waylon Jennings.
Leading a frontal assault on the lies of the New World Order, it's Alex Jones. You found it, the tip of the spear. It is the Alex Jones Show.
I hear people talking bad about the way we have to live here in this country. Harping on the wars we fight and griping about the way things ought to be. And I don't mind them switching sides and standing up for things they believe in. When they're running down my country, man, they're walking on the fighting side of me. Yeah, walking on the fighting side of me. Running down the way of life, I'm fighting and fought and died to keep. If you don't love it, leave it. Let this song I'm singing be a warning. All right, I want to get into the globalists and admissions of their master plan and how frustrating it is to sit here and watch them set all this up, and then we debate all the little diversions and distractions they put out, like having millions of activists run around and attack ICE that are just serving warrants on murderers and child molesters, and then say they're all Nazis, we're going to hunt you all down and kill you. They're starting their civil war. Then Ilhan Omar has this guy false flag, whether she's in it or not, big leftist activist. They claim he's a Republican. I got a lot to hit here, and we got Kravenstein I'm going to be debating next hour, so I'll be here. I got a lot I'm about to hit right now. But first, John Bound just did a report on the fact that the First Amendment doesn't authorize you to take over other people's private property and terrorize children.
Safe travels.
What can I do for you?
This is what we have here, everyone. Let me read it to you. The Democratic Coalition of Satan Worshippers thanks Governor Tim Walz for not standing in the way of spreading Satanism in the state capitol building. Satan has a special place for you.
While Christians are being slaughtered worldwide, over 4,800 martyred for their faith in the latest reporting period alone, mostly in sub-Saharan Africa's jihadist killing fields, not to mention the slaughtered Zoroastrians taking place in Iran. Don Lemon's stochastic terror rants, fueling the growing anti-Christian narrative, slide right on by in the land of the First Amendment, unchallenged by our Soros-embedded so-called justice system.
There's nothing in the Constitution that tells you what time you can protest. You can protest at any time. That's the whole point of it, is to disrupt. to make uncomfortable.
I think this DOJ, via Pam Bondi, who wears her crucifix, who will not ever address anybody's suffering, they have a problem with those types of white people being confronted and called out on their hypocrisy.
And there's a certain degree of entitlement. I think people who are, in the religious groups like that, it's not the type of Christianity that I practice, but I think that they're entitled, and that entitlement comes from a supremacy, a white supremacy.
I have preached for many years that there will come a time when we'll find out who are Christians by label and by convenience, and who are Christians by conviction. And certainly we're entering those days now. I believe we should pray for this congregation, and we should be vigilant as Christians to exercise our freedom, to worship our Savior, and to stand unashamed for the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Now the Eighth Circuit just unsealed those filings on arrest warrants tied to church invasions where the judge's concurrence lays it bare. In this corrupted America, tainted Article III benches and Democrat urban jury pools stacked with Bolshevik sympathizers guarantee these church-disrupting, service-interrupting, child-frightening radicals will never face real justice.
The hypocrisy here is thick, and I would say that what we have here is a situation where rights were violated. Those rights need to be protected, and there is a law here that can be accessed to ensure those protections.
That's the nightmare we're living right now. This judge apparently sees storming a sanctuary, shattering worship, and terrorizing little kids as no big deal, not even illegal. But does the court of public opinion agree with what court filings revealed was said and done by the protesters? Quote, "Your parents are Nazis," end quote, was yelled directly in the faces of children while accusing parents of being Nazis who would burn in hell. Quote, "This ain't God's house. This is the house of the devil," end quote, was shouted by protester William Kelly. Accusations that the church was, quote, "harboring killers," end quote, directed at the congregation. In the chaos, some protesters reportedly shouted, quote, "shoot," end quote, amid fears of guns, contributing to panic that felt like a, quote, "mass shooting," end quote, to one victim, as stairs were blocked to prevent parents from reaching Sunday school children. And now the DOJ has withdrawn its request for those 5 arrest warrants, including Don Lemon, following the appellate rejection.
What you witnessed Don Lemon do is churches, they target white churches because white churches are being told you got to be friendly and nice. And you just got to look past it and just love them. Love them. I love mine. Let me love your hands, oh Lord. And let me love your throat as I pray for you.
Amen. Don Lemon, don't come here. You roll up in this church doing stuff like that, and it's going to be the Royal Rumble.
Fake news magas are losing their mind over something that's not even true.
I'm trying to understand, what is it exactly that you are doing, and what is it exactly that you want us to think that you're doing? You are opposition to any and everything that is successful in this country. Anything that is trying to get this country together, you are in direct opposition of.
Americans are left twisting in the wind, struggling with the constant question, where do we go from here? John Bound reporting for InfoWars.
Well, that's a powerful report that just went up at Band.video and hopefully on X where all it shows. All right, I've got all the big new developments, all this insane stuff breaking. Ilhan Omar caught in a clear false flag, whether she's involved in it or not. It's clearly a false flag. This guy's a known leftist that shot apple cider vinegar on her now. Oh, my God. It's so terrible. But I wanted to show you a clip from like a month ago with these new clips. This is Nicole Shanahan, who was heavily involved with Kennedy, obviously, in his run. Ex-wife of Google co-founder Sergey Brin, former running mate of RFK Jr., talking about she's married to this guy, and they're talking about how they're doing the Great Reset, locking everything down for control, and she's there watching them do this evil in front of her. And so she divorced him and went public and backed Kennedy. And then I saw a new clip of a lady who does an excellent job, who's a big leftist, or was, Aaron Durham. We were fed the lie that globalism was benign cooperation. In truth, it was a tool to suppress the very principles the Republic was founded on, a strategy to prevent sovereign industrial strength from taking hold. Minnesota and Davos explain. Very powerful clips. And this is the reality. These people want you poor. They want you controlled. They're using sociology, psychology against you. They're training you to hate yourself, to believe humans are bad, so you'll be depopulated, so you'll roll over and die. So you'll give up your life force, your will to not just survive, but adapt and overcome. And then I'll get into Trump beating the drums for war with Iran. And people will say, well, that's paradoxical. Yeah, Trump's way better than Democrats. And he always said he wouldn't let Iran get a nuke, but I thought blowing up the nuke sites did that. But I said, no, watch, it won't. And now here we are. So that's coming up. But first, this is really important, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to these women. This is what we're up against. This is the real foe we're against. Here it is.
But what happened around the pandemic is that this whole other segment, what I don't think many of the tech mafia wives realize is that they were used to set the groundwork for what was called like the reset, what is called generally as like the reset by the Klaus Schwabs.
Like
of
the
world.
Great Reset.
The Great Reset, yeah. They openly talk about this Great Reset.
Yeah.
So the tech wife mafias, I believe, were kind of being conscripted in many ways, and their money especially was being conscripted in to set the groundwork for the Great Reset.
Yeah. Specifically through
a network of NGO advisors.
Safe travels.
Relationship with Hollywood, relationship with Davos, and their own companies. So if you look at like who's on these boards, who hangs out with each other, how the culture of tech wealth works, like Silicon Valley tech wealth, and that small group of people responsible for a huge amount of money and a huge amount of NGO activity across the United States. It's a really small group of people, and it's a really small group of people making these decisions.
Yeah.
And then completely blind to everything else that's going on and how their groundwork is being used to then enable these other policies, these Great Reset policies. Now, what this group of women doesn't realize is that in their haste, these women are all very busy.
Yeah.
They have multiple properties. They have tons of staff. They have staff issues, chronic staff issues. Their kids are busy. Their kids oftentimes have some health issues as well. A lot of them have relationship issues with their husbands. And a lot of them themselves are like medicated on SSRIs and antidepressants and all of that because it's just overwhelming.
Yeah.
So, it's chaos, and these women find their meaning through their philanthropic work.
Yeah.
And they find themselves, like I would find myself, that was my self-worth, was my philanthropic work, and I really believed in it. I really believed that I was giving Black communities a chance to like rise up out of oppression. I really believed that I was helping Indigenous communities rise up out of oppression. And now that I look back and see how all those grants were forming, you know, because my version of success is those communities are actually uplifted.
Yeah. Not just more money pumped into them.
Not just more money. No, the problems of the community have gotten worse. Crime in the community has gotten worse. Mental health in the Native community, the Indigenous community, has gotten worse. They will even say, the Indigenous community will even say that their biggest supporters in Congress have been Republicans, but yet they continue to vote Democrat.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that is this, it's like, the whole model is broken. The whole model makes everybody worse off. And now we're contending with the frickin' Great Reset that we're now realizing is a terrible idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that many of our climate change issues are geoengineering issues.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is like, at the end of the day, they always go to that. They're like, but climate change. And then,
Yeah,
and
that really is the end all be all. Like, you have to let us do this because of climate change.
Yeah. Social justice and climate change, it always boils down to those two things, and it gets progressive women 100% of the time.
It does. It does.
So, as a historian who spent decades in the liberal worldview, I've come to see how much of what I accepted as truth was carefully constructive narrative, especially around globalism. We were told it was progressive, interconnected prosperity, an inevitable march of liberal democratic globalism. That made sense to me. But the reality I've uncovered is far darker. A persistent imperial system rooted in British strategies from the 1900s that has manipulated nations, including our own, to prevent sovereign industrial strength to take hold. Take what's happening right now in Minneapolis. What the media frames as organic outrage over immigration enforcement, communities clashing with authoritarian ICE agents, is actually a textbook color revolution tactic brought home to American soil. Vice President J.D. Vance calls it out plainly. Engineered chaos unique to Minneapolis, driven by far-left agitators coordinating with local authorities. Look at the key figures. Rachel Sayre, the city's emergency management director. She openly compares the situation to conflict zones she has worked in: Yemen, Haiti, Syria, Iraq. Those aren't random places. They're sites of repeated regime change operations. So why escalate now? Because President Trump's new 2026 national defense strategy just slammed the door on 80 years of U.S.-backed regime change abroad. It's big. No more democracy promotion, no more color revolutions overseas, no more using American power to enforce a post-war global order that keeps nations in perpetual conflict for imperial control. The strategy shifts focus. Defend the homeland first. Protect the Western Hemisphere, reviving Monroe Doctrine principles. Deter China through strength, not endless confrontation. Rebuild our industrial base as part of a once-in-a-century revival of American manufacturing and increase burden sharing with real allies. That document, quietly released amid Davos noise where Trump allies shredded globalism as a failure, ended the imperial's primary weapon. When you can't run operations in foreign lands anymore, you pivot inwards. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. Notice the sudden obsession with Lord Palmerston. He pioneered using mobs, liberation movements, anarchists, and radicals to destabilize rivals from within, stopping the spread of the American system. Strong, sovereign nations built on industrial progress and economic sovereignty. As a former liberal, this realization hits hard. We were fed the lie that globalism was benign cooperation. And in truth, it was a tool to suppress the very principles our republic was founded on. Their new defense strategy proves that we're not playing by their rules anymore. This is the fight for true sovereignty, and understanding the history is how we win it. As historians, we owe it to the truth and to our country to keep exposing these patterns.
Meanwhile, other key Trump supporters, including far-right media personalities, began promoting the wild protest on January 6th.
1776! 1776! The answer to 1984 is 1776. Every time I think about this guy, I forget his name because I just do it off the cuff. But I was at Bilderberg 2006 in Canada. I'd just been arrested trying to fly in, trying to cover it. It was a big media frenzy. Back in the media, still stuck up for journalists, even though they didn't like me. And they released me after a day of being interrogated and screamed at and threatened with prison. And they finally released me. And when I got to the hotel, I met with Jim Tucker, the hotel miles away from where Bilderberg was about to meet the next day. There was an old man at the bar drinking a beer. He said, "Alex, I'd like to drink a beer with you." And I said, "Sure." He's a British man. I said, "You live in Canada?" He said, "Yeah, I lived here since the 90s. And I didn't know he was dying at the time. He died a few months later. He said, "I used to be a well-known economist in the UK, and I've been at the highest levels of the whole socialist globalist system. I've met with many of these people, and early on, I kind of believed the lie they were selling about how it was utopia and freedom and power of the average person, but really they want to make everybody poor and control them." And he said, "I think you need to use this slogan I just developed, because I'm a mathematician, not just an economist." And he said, but it's not an equation, it's an archetypal symbol in numbers." He was very eloquent. He said, "The answer to 1984 is 1776. And I interviewed him and talked to him, and it wasn't till we started looking into him for the film that it turned out he was the main economist to two prime ministers. He was the guy. He was super famous. I just, didn't know that in the 80s he'd worked for Margaret Thatcher and all the rest of it. But the point is, that's where that came from, was from a Brit, which is perfect because, you know, our revolution came out of England. It was an extension of George Washington's grandparents and Thomas Jefferson's grandparents and parents and people that came to the New World to get away from tyranny. And England had revolutions like ours trying to get freedom. So America is not an anti-British thing. America is not an anti-Anglo-Saxon thing. America is not it comes out of Magna Carta in 1215. It comes out of all those wars and rebellions and fights for freedom in Ireland, in Scotland, in Wales, in Brittany. That is an extension of who we are. And it's so fitting that a Brit and an economist came up with that powerful maxim that they fear so much. The answer to 1984 is 1776! All right, I am loaded for bear here with just so many huge stories, so many breaking reports. And I'm scheduled to debate Brian Krabenstein coming up next hour. I said I wanted to debate him, but then it's kind of like, I'm not scared to debate him. I'm just kind of like, it'd be like if there was like a dead deer in the ditch. It'd been dead for like 5 days. It's got maggots all over it. And then it'd be like kind of like sitting down with like a folding chair and just watching it for hours rot. It's kind of my analogy. I'm trying to be mean to him. It's just, I'm telling you how I personally feel. Like I want to debate him, but just the talking points and the deception and then it's just like I don't want to look at him. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's really mean, isn't it? But I'm just being honest. So I guess, you know, that's where I come from on this. I'm also sick of having to keep track of everything. And I get not keeping track of stuff. God, it must be great to not have responsibility. It must be so wonderful just to kind of laissez-faire around. Everything's fun, everything else. It must be fun to be the left, just be pure evil, just run around lying, screwing everybody over. But to me, it doesn't sound good. That sounds horrible, actually.
Hi. Off with you.
But I know this. We're in the last gasp right now of insane levels of tyranny. And they are going to pull out the stops at levels never before seen. Let me do this. I got so mad earlier, I probably ended the show. Because it's the simple stuff, you see. Little foxes spoil the grapes. And if you can't do the simplest things, well, how are you going to do the complex things? Humanity needs to wake up.
Here there.
You know, they got studies out that the average person is in a near sleep-like trance. Because people were brought up watching television, so they have this suspended disbelief. You know, I remember until I was about 25, I could go watch a movie, Lord of the Rings, whatever, and I could suspend disbelief and kind of like go into it and like feel like at the end of it, God, that just went by in 2 minutes. Kind of have a sleepy wander out. But I hit a point in my life where I was analyzing all the propaganda, all the costumes, all the angles, all the seats, to where I was like, I don't ever suspend disbelief for 5 seconds. I go see a movie, I watch a newscast, anything. It's just constant, serious, real-world analysis. And I have to get my mind around the fact that most people, and by the way, it's natural to kind of black out. You're not supposed to have to be constantly on. But under an assault by the enemy like this, you need to be. So I like nostalgically, like dream back to when I was mindless some of the time. It's like a forgotten country or a place you left decades ago that doesn't even exist anymore. And so I just have to turn it over to God and just move forward. and how the left are experts at getting us to debate whatever new little shiny object they've created, the new little emotional thing where we opt into their angle or our angle, and it's all just pure crap. They want to kill us. They want to sterilize us. They want to murder us. And then they'll dangle George Floyd in front of you, or Ms. Good or Miss Pretty or whatever. You know, it's just like, they're like, oh, it's a judgment on you. Do what we say now. This person's dead that we set out to do this. And then we're supposed to just compartmentalize in just that area and go, I agree. I want open borders and all the human trafficking and everything else you want. And there's no immigration enforcement ever. You know, I told you that the governor and the mayor, when they met in Minneapolis with Homan, would come out and say, no, we're not going to help you in any way. It was just all just a circle jerk. It was all just to put them off, play their games, do their thing. And they did that. It wasn't a hard prediction. And Trump's like, wow, it's illegal to impede us. You're saying we can't have any border enforcement, including of bank robbers and murderers? And they're like, yeah. Trump's like, wow, you're criminals. You didn't think they didn't know that, Trump? They're a pack of arrogant criminals that have never been held accountable who think they're invincible. And they got a giant horde of camp followers behind them that think they're on the winning team. And because they've never even gotten a political, I mean, that's a metaphor, bloody nose, they think they're invincible. And their weakness is their strength. Their stupidity is their strength. So just know that. Yeah, we've turned the tide. We won some battles, but we've not yet won the war. So I'm not giving up. I'm not going away. If they shut us down, I got the Alex Jones Network. I don't know, and I'm going over there. You finance it. You paid for it with your support. I'm just telling you, here's the weird paradox. I thought we'd be shut down last year. I thought we'd be shut down 2 months ago. The receiver won't let us order new product over at InfoWarsStore.com. So we're in this paradox now where we're winning, and now they're like, well, you'll actually be open in the middle of next year now and all this stuff, and there's no money because people believe it was going to shut down. Plus, there's no product. But I convinced the receiver. I said, can we at least make fundraising posters, which are very low cost, have a high markup, people know it's an investment, to keep us on the air? Can I do that? I said, yeah, you can do that.